Pure, good to see you. How you doing? Evening. How you been? Pablo, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? T, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? JP, good to see you. So brother, how you doing? How you been? Good evening. Lados, good to see you. So how you doing? Where's the market dumping? Just a small little correction. Hello, Miles. How you doing today? Thanks for your friendship. Scott, good to see you, brother. I hope you're doing better now. Hey, Miles and family. Anna, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been, Anna? Hi, Miles and family. Golden Dragon, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Come on, good to see you, so brother. How you doing? How you been? There's quite a lot of news to go through on tonight's live. So we have a mixture of news to cover on tonight's live. It's going to be slightly longer than what it was yesterday. Miles, what's next for XRP? What's next for XRP essentially is, well, Gary Gensler needs to get fired and the ETFs need to essentially get approved. Dennis, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles and family. Hope everyone is good. Ronnie, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? Evening, Miles and family. Ian, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? So let's go through it of what we're going to be going through on tonight's live. Mixture of news to cover, as I said. So on tonight's live, we're going to be talking on the episode 203. We're on 203 right now. It's incredible. So welcome to episode 203 of the CMF Live. On tonight's live, we're going to be covering news regarding who is the chosen, essentially, appointed Senate majority for bringing in crypto regulations. Someone has been chosen for this seat, and this person is pro-crypto, which is absolutely amazing. Then we're going to be talking about essentially a Senate push bill for what's going to be happening in the first 100 days of Trump running the show. Incredible is what's going to be happening. Some different perspectives we're going to go through on that matter. Then we're going to go through the news topic of former SEC John Reed essentially coming out and telling Gary Gensler just resign and give it up. So we're going to go through his perspective essentially on Gary Gensler. Then we're going to be talking about tonight's live regarding the NASDAQ. Apparently the NASDAQ has listed a Japanese crypto exchange for the first time ever, and it's been approved by the SEC. So is Gary Gensler trying to do some good deeds before he, hits the deck, essentially? Then we're going to be talking about Senator, essentially, Elizabeth Warren, the number 2 weasel. Number 1 weasel is obviously Gary Gensler. Number 2 weasel is Senator Elizabeth Warren. And we're going to be talking about her because she's trying to get a new position in the banking committee to stifle crypto if she can. She's going to have zero chance of doing that, but we're going to go through that on tonight's live. We're also going to talk about on tonight's live regarding BlackRock. As everybody knows, BlackRock has essentially a build fund, which is their tokenization fund, and it's been growing ridiculously well. To be fairly honest, very good. It's been growing. So we're going to go through that on tonight's live as well, and how much opportunities bring into the table in terms of investments from BlackRock in cryptocurrencies and tokenizations. We're also going to go through the subject on tonight's live regarding inflation. The new CPI data has been released. So we're going to go through the new CPI data on tonight's live in terms of essentially job labors, inflation, how things are going to progress moving forward, and so on. And if Trump was in charge, would there be anything different, or is there going to be anything different moving forward? So we're going to go through those data points on tonight's live as well. We're also going to talk about the Bank of France. The Bank of France has put an urgent meeting discussing cryptocurrencies. So we're going to go through what the Bank of France has discussed in their urgent meeting on cryptocurrencies. We're also going to talk about Fed member, essentially Cashier, one of the biggest Bitcoin, essentially foes, has changed his mind. One of the Fed members, one of the biggest Fed members, has decided to come out and essentially change their opinion on blockchain entirely and say it's a positive note now. I wonder why. Then we're going to be talking about Polymarket on tonight's live as well. The CEO of Polymarket has been essentially comprehended, and there's no reasonings behind it except one, which we're going to get into on tonight's live. We're also going to talk about the ADGM, the latest consultation, essentially, and the big promises for digital change. As we know, many countries are aiming to become a digital hub, essentially the capital crypto. America is aiming for that as well, and it's going to get a better position and lead because of Donald Trump. But obviously, Dubai and essentially Singapore, Japan, Hong Kong, the EU, so many countries are aiming for that essentially title. So we're going to go through that on tonight's live as well. Then we're going to be talking about tonight's live regarding crypto giants Okra and Block Tower. Two massive, essentially VC companies are merging together to enter into the crypto space and bring some money to the table. So we're going to go through that on tonight's live as well. We're also going to be talking about CEO Howard. Essentially, Catanal Fixod's CEO Howard is aiming to become a Treasury Secretary. This man is behind, essentially, Tether, and is aiming to become a Treasury Secretary under Trump. We're also going to talk about Van Eck launching their new ETN. I'll tell you what crypto project it is once we get to that news. We're also going to talk about tonight's live regarding 5 digital asset trends in America. And that is a new report that's just came out by Ripple. So we're going to go through a Ripple report today that's just came out, but towards the end of the live. We're also going to talk about new, essentially, venture that Van Eck is entering into. 2 VC companies merging together to come into the crypto space. Who's going to be chosen as the US Treasury? And is it going to be a pro-crypto person? Why is Senator Elizabeth Warren trying to still stifle crypto, even though she's left by herself? Because the FDIC chairman has pretty much went out the window. And Gary Gensler is following that scenario as well. So a mixture of news to go through: news from Dubai, news from the US, news about regulations and policies, news about CPI data. Vital information for everybody to know about, to be fairly honest. Now, before we go through any of those news, I just want to say to everybody that's watching right now, welcome to the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, this is episode 203 of the CMF Live. On this live, I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations. Vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. So if you're watching this for the first time ever, welcome to the CMF Live. And if you're regular, let's go CMF. On this live also, there's a disclaimer. The disclaimer is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. And we also do Q&As on this live as well, which means if you have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. So, welcome to the CMF Live. If you've watched this for the first time, and if you're regular, let's go CMF. The live show has officially started now. Before we go for the first news, which is Republican, essentially Senator John from South Dakota, essentially being appointed as the Senate Majority Leader, and can bring some change inside the crypto space in America. Before we go for the first news, let's go straight into the comment section, and then we go straight into the first news. So, let's see what's going inside the comment section, and then we go straight into the first news. See where we were at. We were at here. Ian, good to see you as well. How you doing? Evening, Miles and family. How you been, Ian? Man, I am not first tonight. Sickness is slowing me up. Let's go, Scott. Hi, Miles and CMF. Stormy, good to see you as well. How you doing, Stormy? How you been? Share the live. Let's go, Scott. I am first. Like more, please. Let's go, Golden Dragon. By the way, thank you so much to everybody that's retweeted this live right at the beginning. I'm getting notifications on X. Thank you so much to everyone that's retweeted this live on X, like this live on X, and put a comment outside the video on X as well. Thanks so much to everyone on YouTube who's watching us right now, who's also liked the video and put a comment as well. Hello, Miles and CMF commenters. Good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? How you been? Morning, Miles and CMF. Shelly, good to see you as well. How you doing, Shelly? How you been? It's incredible what he has put together already. This is going to be an absolute great 4 years. I 100% agree with that. 1 billion%. Trump has done an incredible job. Trump has not even taken his seat yet, and the world is already changing into a positive note, which is amazing to see. Why Quant not moving, just stay slow? Quant is just an interesting project. Trust me, Trump is not going to have any time for Elizabeth Warren. He's already got his eyes on her. Lol. Yeah, I agree. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Orphan, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Bull XRP, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. How are you? Callie, good to see you, brother. How you doing? I'm doing great. How you been, Callie? Good morning, Miles and CMF. Solomon, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hello to my CMF on YouTube. Share the live. Let's go, Scott. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Free and forever. Good to see you, brother. How you doing? How you been? So let's go through the first news topic on tonight's live. If you're tuning in right now, welcome to the CMF Live. The first news is who's going to be taking the chair. And by that, I mean this. So another good news for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. BTC-friendly name appointed to essentially a very critical position inside the United States government. Republican Senator John from South Dakota has been appointed Senate Majority Leader in a move that could lead to clearer regulations for the cryptocurrency industry. This is amazing to see that we're getting pro-politicians getting majority seats and having the loudest voice, you can say, in the Senate when it comes to cryptocurrency policies and regulations. Known for his support of digital assets, John has been consistently pushing to expand the Commodities Futures and Trading Commission (CFTC) jurisdictions over crypto sectors, an effort many see as crucial to establishing a safe regulatory environment for digital assets. Now, the CFTC has obviously been pro-crypto for a very long time, unlike the SEC, who's been negative crypto. Fox Business reporter Eleanor Turret broke the news of John's stance on Twitter, noting that the new majority leader was one of the sponsors of the Senate Agriculture Committee's original bill that aimed to expand the CFTC's oversight of digital assets. He is very pro-crypto, she added. John has served in the Senate since 2004, became the majority representative in 2019, and now steps into the role of majority leader after running against two GPO colleagues, John essentially Karen of Texas and Rick of Scott of Florida. John has served both Republican conferences and conferences committees chairs in the past. He's known for his policies on the economy and the technology space. John's appointee could mark a turning point for crypto regulations, aligning with the administration that has expressed support for the industry since the beginning. While John has occasionally clashed with President-elect Donald Trump, particularly over Trump's claims about 2020 elections, he ran on the platform dedicated to implementing Trump's policy goals. A lot of politicians who hated Trump are now in favor of Trump. You know why? Because they don't want to be fired. You can see how backstabbing these politicians are. Now, I am deeply honored to have the support of my colleagues to lead the Senate in the 119th Congress, John said in a statement after his appointee. This Republican team is united behind President Trump's agenda, and our work begins today. It's great to see, honestly, politicians coming together, standing behind Donald Trump. Amazing to see that, because in the past they were not standing behind Donald Trump, which was wrong. But now all the politicians are coming out and saying, we're standing behind Donald Trump, we're going to implement his policies. And Donald Trump's policies are all pro. Just, pro for the cryptocurrency space, pro for the stock market, pro for businesses, pro for the economy, pro for inflation, and so on. So it's great to see that's happening. But John is the one that's most likely going to be appointing this seat as the majority, essentially, leader. And he wants to bring some pro-cryptocurrency regulations. In the past, he tried to do this, didn't really work because of Biden administration and OnlyFans Kamala Harris. But now, because of Donald Trump, he has the capabilities to bring some pro-crypto regulations. As I said previously, the prices you're seeing right now inside the market space for Bitcoin reaching new heights and ETH doing new heights, Solana doing new heights, Cardano, XRP, you name it, they're all doing new numbers right now. Yeah, this is nothing compared to what's going to be heading towards us. What's happening right now is just a teaser inside the market space. We're going to go extremely bullish as time goes by. So, moving on to the next news, moving off John, who was just appointed as majority leader and to bring some crypto regulation policies. To BTC reserve. Is Bitcoin going to be used essentially as a reserve asset? Now, there are many people backing this agenda. One of them, obviously, is the president of the United States, going to become president of the United States, Donald Trump. He's taking his seat around January 20th. Now, there are other people that are behind Donald Trump as well, which is great to see. So, BTC reserve is closer than ever before. Senator to push the bill in Trump's essentially first 100 days. Senator Cynthia Luminous expressed optimism that plans to create a strict Bitcoin reserve will be implemented soon after Donald Trump's essentially Donald Trump taking his seat around January 20th. Senator Cynthia Luminous has been trying for a while to make Bitcoin a reserve asset inside the United States, but because of Sleepy Joe and OnlyFans Kamala Harris, it wasn't possible. Now it is. Times are changing. So, she said, I believe we can get this done with the bipartisan support in the first 100 days of Donald Trump taking his seat. If we have essentially the support of the people, which the people obviously are supporting crypto, so she has that support. And she has the support of the President of the United States. It is a game changer for the solvency of our nation. Let's put America on sound financial footing and pass the Bitcoin Act. The Bitcoin Act essentially is that backing Bitcoin to the using Bitcoin to back the American debt that's happening is a massive issue right now. But they want to buy 1 million Bitcoins and control 5% supply of Bitcoin is what's going to be happening inside the United States. So Senator Cynthia Luminous essentially posted a response to David Bailey, Bitcoin Inc. CEO, who has been actively advising Trump on cryptocurrency policies. Bailey had previously suggested that such a reserve could be created quickly under the new administration. This is what the CEO said to Donald Trump. The CEO of Bitcoin Inc. said this statement to Donald Trump. He said, the Bitcoin and crypto industry policies wish list is long and pressing, but the strict Bitcoin reserve is the #1 most urgent and transformational policy on the President Trump's agenda. The downstream effects change everything. We must get it done in the first 100 days. In the first 100 days, Trump has a lot of things to do because America needs to be fixed and the entire world needs to be fixed. So in the first 100 days, there's a lot of things he has to do. One, create a Bitcoin reserve. Two, essentially bring some regulations and policies. Three, fire Gary Gensler, get a new SEC chairman. Four, essentially mass deportation. A lot of things need to be happening in the first 100 days, to be fairly honest. But this is what David Bailey of essentially BTC Inc., the CEO, said. Bailey also floated the idea of using Bitcoin to Donald Trump more widely in government programs. He suggested that if Robert F. Kennedy Jr. were appointed as Secretary of Health and Human Services and assumed the responsibility for managing the Social Security programs, there would be a discussion about paying 5 to 10% of Social Security payments in Bitcoin stored in a strict reserve. So apparently Bitcoin can also be used in other aspects inside the American markets, not just a reserve asset, but it could also be used for the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. program, which is happening, which is he's becoming the Secretary of Health and Human Services and assume the responsibility. They're saying that Bitcoin can be used in that scenario as well, the health secretary inside the United States. Trump announced the creation of Bitcoin reserves in US in July 2024 during a speech at an event supporting his election campaign. A few days before the politician's announcements, media reports appeared that Senator Cynthia Lummis was preparing a Bitcoin reserve bill called the Bitcoin Act of 2024. The act proposes creating a network of decentralized vaults nationwide to securely store Bitcoin reserves. The US Treasury Department is supposed to have 200,000 Bitcoins annually for 5 years, and the US reserves would eventually amount to 1 million Bitcoins. It is assumed that Bitcoin reserves will be stored for at least 20 years. The cryptocurrency can be purchased at a time of expense of other assets at the authorities' disposal, such as gold certificates. Cynthia Lummis also proposes to cover the cost of purchasing cryptocurrencies by re-evaluating it. They want to re-evaluate cryptocurrencies inside the United States. In addition, the proposal plans to implement a reserve verification system to verify the availability of funds and consolidate all existing BTC that are currently inside the possession of the US government in a new reserve. So, apparently inside the United States, they want to reevaluate cryptocurrencies, starting with Bitcoin. Before they start the mass purchase of cryptocurrencies, they want to reevaluate it. That's going to be an interesting one. Are they just going to be reevaluating Bitcoin's price before they start purchasing, or are they going to be reevaluating a couple of crypto assets? Maybe some crypto assets are priced very wrong. They should be higher or they should be cheaper. You never know. But what we're going to talk about next essentially is the SEC, Gary Gensler, hopefully resigning, coming from his former employees. But before we go through that news, let's go inside the comment section. But it is good that essentially politicians are backing Donald Trump, something that never happened in the past, but there is strong support right now, which is incredible to see. Let's go inside the comment section first before we go through the next news, which is regarding Gary Gensler. And as I said, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. I read out your name, then your comment, and give you a short, simple answer to get through everyone. Let's see where we were at. We were here. He actually deserves to have that position for all the effort and work he has done over the years. Yes, I agree. Facts. You're talking about essentially John. I agree. And if you're talking about Trump, I agree as well. Even a mouse. Sorry, I'm a bit late on duty. No problem, Paul. Good to see you, brother. How you doing? Let's Go says if you don't own any Bitcoin, you're going to get left behind. Bitcoin has conquered the world. It has conquered the world. I agree on that matter. Hi, Miles. Zach, good to see you. How you doing? How's it going, Zach? When do you expect this bull run to peak? Well, this bull run is just at the beginning right now. So what people are seeing right now, as I said previously, if you're seeing Bitcoin doing new heights or Ethereum doing new heights or any other crypto assets reaching the ladder right now, this is a teaser, okay? This is just a small teaser of what to come. These new prices you're seeing, they're incredible. Bitcoin getting closer and closer to $100,000. That's amazing to see. But this is just essentially a teaser of what's to come, because we still don't have a new SEC chairman, which we will have very soon when Trump takes his seat. We don't have regulations and policies inside the United States, which we will have very soon when Trump takes his seat. With a new SEC chairman, new regulations and policies, which means more banks and more institutions get involved inside the crypto space, which means the US goes pro-crypto, which means the rest of the countries around the world will go pro-crypto because they don't want to get left behind by the US. So what you're seeing right now is a teaser of what's about to come. Okay, Bitcoin doing new heights, ETH doing new price points and discoveries and so on. Majority of crypto assets doing well for themselves. This is just a teaser of what's to come. A small teaser of what to come. Hey Miles. Hey Miles, when do you think the bull market will top? I'm hearing March, April. No, it will top even. It will go beyond that. Look, you got to understand that the moment rules and so the moment a new SEC chairman is elected, you got to understand this one simple factor. So anybody telling you that the market's going to be, topping out on March, April, bull. Complete BS. The market's not going to be topping out in March, April. You've got to understand that we are in a completely different ball game. I've been saying this for a very long time. We are in a completely different ball game right now. Okay, I'm not the only one that's saying this. Grayscale is saying we're in a different, completely ball game. Goldman Sachs analysts are saying we're in a completely different ball game. Franklin Templeton's analysts are saying we're in a completely different ball game. Nicholas, JP Morgan's analyst is saying we're in a different ball game as well. Because we are in a different ball game. So the market topping out on March, April is complete BS. Because first of all, the first 100 days inside the United States is just going to be a new SEC chairman, rules and regulations, more institutions, more ETFs for essentially altcoins. Utility. Let's not forget about the main factor of cryptocurrencies that a lot of people tend to forget. Utility. We are going into utility. Okay. One of the biggest market spaces in the entire world is about to go pro-crypto for the first time, become the capital of cryptocurrencies. And you assume, or people assume, the market's going to be topping out on March, April. We're not in the same ball game. Okay, we're about to go into new SEC chairman, rules and regulations, which makes more institutions, more banks come inside the crypto space, more money starts flowing from the United States market spaces, more ETFs. There are multiple ETFs that the SEC hasn't even bothered looking into. There are 3 XRP ETFs. Gary Gensler hasn't even looked into. There are 2 Solana ETFs. He hasn't looked into them. There are multiple other ETFs. He hasn't looked into any of them. So we're going to get a lot of ETFs for altcoins happening inside the United States market space. Wall Street entering because of rules and regulations. Institutions entering because of rules and regulations. Banks entering because of rules and regulations. And that's just the United States money coming into inside the market space. Let's not forget, as I said previously, we have one company, for example, MicroStrategy, as I said previously as well. MicroStrategy is one company that went pro-crypto and started buying Bitcoin to back it with their assets. Companies tend to follow each other inside the corporate sector. And when MicroStrategy started buying essentially Bitcoin and back into their assets, their MSTR stock, 8 companies followed MicroStrategy's footsteps because MicroStrategy was doing well in the new market space. Slovenia started doing tokenizations. The United Kingdom followed Slovenia because they were doing essentially tokenizations, which went well. Now imagine the United States going pro-crypto, banks in crypto inside the United States, institutions in crypto inside the United States, Wall Street in crypto inside of the United States, tokenizations, ETFs. The rest of the world is going to follow. If 8 companies follow MicroStrategy, the United Kingdom market space follows Slovenia for tokenizations, you don't think the rest of the world is going to follow the entire United States market space? Every institution, every bank around the world is going to be following the United States footsteps. So the market topping out in March, April is complete BS. Complete BS. The market's not going to be topping out for a while, to be fairly honest with you. The market is not going to be topping out for a while. Unless we have geopolitical tensions happening at a high scale, then sure, we're going to have some consolidation, some turbulences in the market space. But other than that, we're about to go into new price discoveries for a while. Okay? 8 companies follow the footsteps of MicroStrategy. The United Kingdom follows Slovenia because they're doing tokenizations. And the biggest market space on this planet, the United States market space, is about to go full pro-crypto. And you think the market's going to top out in March, April. The market ain't going to be topping out for a while. We're just going to go higher and higher because putting aside rules and regulations that we're going to be having, so no more gray areas for banks and institutions, and putting aside the immense amount of ETFs we're going to be having for altcoins inside the United States, and putting aside Wall Street going headfirst into blockchain technology, putting aside tokenization funds, the rest of the world is going to be following that market space. So the market is not going to be topping out in March, April, any sort of a way. We're just going to go into new price discoveries back to back. And let's not forget the biggest factor, utility. Okay? The whole point of cryptocurrencies, of blockchain technology, is utility. So the moment we go into utility, we're going to see new price discoveries happening even more. So, as I said previously, this market is not going to be topping out in March, April, so on. at all. It's going to be 4 years of massive changes happening in this world and new price discoveries. And the more we go into utility, the more certain assets will be doing new price discoveries. Not every asset brings utility to the table. Not every asset has the correct licensing, the correct contracts in place. But the ones that do have correct contracts and correct licensings in place, they're the ones that are going to be seeing their new price discoveries due to their utility purposes. So, no, we're not going to be topping out essentially March, April. I don't know who's telling you, Andrew, that the market's going to be topping out March, April. They're talking out their ass, to be fairly honest. I don't know who's telling you that, Andrew, who these influencers are, but they don't know what they're talking about. Good evening, Professor Miles and the rest of the family. CMF, funky brother, good to see you. How you doing? Because they're not comprehending that one of the biggest market spaces around the world is about to go pro-crypto, and they don't think every country around them is going to follow their footsteps. Evening, Miles and CMF, good to see you. Manny, how you doing? You got to understand what's happening essentially around you. Revaluating could be a big problem. I'm late today as I'm waiting for BTC to show up on the exchange. It's been up 7 hours. Sorry, Miles, you probably told me before, but what is the real difference with XRP, XDC, and XLM? They're all in the same category, which is the finance category, and bring something else to the table. I mean, XDC is being implemented in payment app systems like MoneyGram. They also want a small minority share of MoneyGram as well. A lot of people don't know that when it comes to XLM. But they're all in the same category, pretty much do the exact same thing. It's just one does it better for institutions, one does it better for the retail section in terms of international payments. Evening, Miles. Malik, good to see you. How you doing? I sent a bit of BTC from cold wallets to exchanges for dollar cost averaging, but it's still not available. It takes a while for BTC. BTC is very slow in terms of transactions. Hi, Miles and CMF. Glenda, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? BTC is very, very slow. I agree in terms of payments, yes. That's why I've always said BTC is not a payment tool. It's a reserve asset. Bitcoin as a digital essentially gold, if you want to put it that way, or essentially as a digital asset on the sidelines is perfect. But for payments, Bitcoin is not built for payments. Look, certain crypto projects are built for certain purposes. Bitcoin, for example, is only built to be used as a reserve asset like real estate. Bitcoin is like real estate. You don't use, a bit of your real estate to go and buy a cup of coffee. So Bitcoin is in that scenario, not really the payment section in any sort of way because it's incredibly slow. It gets congested as well. But as a reserve asset like real estate, you can even say, oh, gold, it's good to go, to be fairly honest. But that is why it's slow and why your payments are taking 7 hours on Bitcoin to process. But certain cryptocurrencies are built for certain purposes. I mean, XRP is built for transactions. If you take XRP, put it in the AI category, it would fail. But if you take XRP, put it inside the payment category, it will essentially be the top category. It'll be the top essentially project in the finance category. If you take Bitcoin, put it in the AI category, it will fail. But if you take Bitcoin, put it as a reserve asset category, it's the top category. So every cryptocurrency has a purpose inside the blockchain space, and not a single cryptocurrency can do everything. It's just not possible. So Bitcoin, that's why it's taking 7 hours for your payments to essentially process in Bitcoin in terms of transactions. And it is very slow on transactions. Any idea how to buy a super token? Have you tried CMC? Why do you want to go for super token? Solana is also slow, but it only took 10 minutes. Compared to the last bull run, what is the market cap we're expecting to see this bull run? Well, it was estimated 5 trillion to 10 trillion to 16 trillion. Miles, all of the influencers are saying totally opposite of what you're saying. They're all saying latest by second quarter, we will be in the bear market. Well, they're all talking out their ass, I'll be honest with you. Brother, pray that you're right this time around. Brother, I've always been right. Have I not always been right? I've always been right. As we all know, that you're always right for what you say. I've always been right. It might even top out in September, never mind April. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Always expect market turbulence. Always expect market turbulence. No market continues going up, so you're going to see some turbulence, but we're going to go up after each turbulence. Miles, we are humans, need more Miles that are highly educated in our schools, teaching world's economies. Thank you so much, Golden Dragon, for the kind words. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Miles. No problem, Ronnie, anytime. Miles, what's the lowest amount of XRP holding? I feel 10,000 is too less. Got in way too late. 10,000 is a great amount. Honestly, 10K in XRP is a very good amount. The space is only going to go higher each year from now, going forward, up, 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 up. JP remembers what I said. The moment we go into utility, it's just going to be up, 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 up. The moment we go into utility. And that's going to be happening after slowly progressing after rules and regulations. None of this is overnight. It's a progressive type of scenario. Hi, Miles, CMF. George, good to see you, brother. How you doing? How you been? Greetings, Miles of CMF. Ray, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Even Miles of CMF peeps. Semper, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Miles is a time traveler. I'm not going to either deny that or prove that. Now, what we're going to talk about next is SEC Chairman Gary Gensler, because he has to resign. There's no way around it. So, former SEC attorney John Reed Stark tells the chairman Gary Gensler to resign. A former SEC attorney came forward and actually said to Gary Gensler, just resign, give it up. The game is over. You tried to stifle progress inside the United States. It's done. It's not going to work anymore. Former SEC attorney John Reed Stark is calling for SEC chairman Gary Gensler's resignation. And he wants the SEC staff to prep a full list of crypto-related investigation lawsuits and regulatory moves for the new chair, so they can kill Gary Gensler's crypto crackdown without missing a beat. Like it or not, the people have spoken, and there must be respected. Fox Business reporter Eleanor Terrett responded to Stark's post, wondering if he was trolling. Stark said, "Nah, I'm too old for trolling, and I don't really know what trolling is anyways. But I do know that the people have spoken and should be respected. The SEC crypto enforcement wave, which has been extraordinarily successful in the courts, should stop, and the SEC should instead refer crypto matters out to other law enforcement and regulatory agencies. And in his views, there is no middle ground, and crypto is either treated as a security under the 33 Act or it's not. According to the 34 Act, trying to balance essentially these conflict rules is not going to fly." Stark went further, predicting that essentially an SEC pause on crypto regulations soon, maybe through a special task force or a study. Given the election results, Stark thinks that it's only fair that Gary Gensler respects what he's calling a landslide victory for big crypto. That is true, and John Reed Stark is saying absolute facts. It is a landslide victory it's a landslide victory. Not only for the presidency, Donald Trump winning once again, thank God Trump won. Honestly, thank God Trump won. But it's not only a landslide victory for Trump's winnings, it's a landslide victory for Republican parties. It's a landslide victory of Gary Gensler, get the hell out. Because he's not going to be winning. There is no point of Gary Gensler still sitting as the current chairman of the SEC. He has no power. Comes around January 20th, the man is fired. And everything he's done inside the crypto space, every single case Gary Gensler touched inside the crypto space is either going to get tossed out or settled. So he has no power from now until January 20th as the SEC chairman. Resign. Give it up. Sometimes you just got to know when to call it quits. And that's what Gary Gensler has to do. And I agree with John Reed Stark. Gary Gensler might want to hold on tight because Donald Trump's camp is already scouting replacements as promised. While Gary Gensler's term technically runs until 2026, Trump pledged to fire Gary Gensler on day one if he returns to office. One of the front runners to take Gary Gensler's place is Dan Gallagher, a former SEC commissioner who is now the chief legal officer at Robinhood. Dan Gallagher hasn't exactly been stubborn about his feelings on Gary Gensler's approach, which he describes as enforcement-driven. In September, congressional hearings, he criticized Gary Gensler's tactics, saying that they're choking innovation and damping essentially the United States standing inside the digital markets. According to Dan Gallagher, Gensler's strategy is hurting the industry. It definitely is, not just the American industry, but the entire world industry. Another contender is essentially Paul Atkins, who also is a former SEC commissioner and a part of Trump's transition team back in 2016. Paul Atkins leads the global partners and co-chairs of Token Alliance, an organization pushing for digital asset adoptions. He agrees that the SEC stands that Bitcoin isn't a security, but has ripped into Gary Gensler's heavy-handed regulations of the industry. For Atkins, Gensler's tactics have crossed the line. It's good to see that people are coming out essentially publicly stating that Gary Gensler has crossed the line. And there is a third name that's gaining essentially traction, SEC Commissioner Mark Yuda. Reappointed in January, Mark Yuda has held many roles within the SEC, including advising former chairman Jay Clinton. Mark also critique of Gary Gensler's crypto policies is sharp. He calls it a disaster when it comes to Gary Gensler and believes the SEC needs a total overhaul from the top down. Gensler's time at the SEC has been defined by his aggressive regulatory moves, especially towards cryptocurrencies. He's essentially wrangled some high profitable settlements like the $4.5 billion deal with Terraform Labs, which they haven't paid for. Still, industry insiders argue that Gary Gensler's policies lack clarity, leaving crypto companies guessing about how to comply with rules and regulations. And it is very, very true. Gary Gensler tells crypto companies, come to the SEC and register with the SEC, and we will help you and guide you inside the crypto space, is what Gary Gensler says. Every single interview Gary Gensler has done with Bloomberg, with the BBC, with CNN, with NBCN, with CBS, every single interview Gary Gensler has done, he always comes out and goes, the crypto space is not listening to the SEC. And if crypto companies want to operate inside the United States market space, then they have to come to the SEC and register. And do you know what happens when companies go to the SEC and register? They get sued the next day. They get a Wells notice the next day. Ripple had a sit down with the SEC a very long time ago. The next day, they get a Wells notice. So you can't tell crypto companies, nobody listens to the SEC. Come to the SEC and register. And when they come to the SEC to register, you send them a Wells notice the next day and try to sue them into the ground. But it seems that even he himself knows his days might be numbered. Even Gary Gensler knows that his days are numbered now. In October, he made a comment that's hard to ignore. He said, traditionally, presidents decide who chairs the SEC. Trump spokesperson Caroline Leavitt has also confirmed that they haven't finalized decisions on his replacements, but the pressure is on, and a change at the SEC feels almost eventable. It's going to be happening either way. The financial industry has also had its fill of Gary Gensler's ambitious agenda. The SEC chair went after Wall Street's core systems. He pushed for faster stocks trade settlements and revamped disclosure rules, especially around special purpose acquisitions and companies. Gary Gensler has not only went essentially against the crypto space. Now, the only reason a lot of people know about Gary Gensler inside the crypto space is because he goes against the crypto space. Gary Gensler has stifled the crypto space, the stock market, and the banks. It almost seems like Gary Gensler is not even American. I think somebody should check on the background of Gary Gensler, because how can you be an American, and how can you be an American politician, essentially, or chairman of the SEC, and stifle your own country in cryptocurrency, stifle your own country, essentially, in the stock market, stifling Wall Street, and the banking industry? It almost feels like Gary Gensler's aim was to crush the American market space, not to bring innovation. Maybe he's being paid off by the Chinese government. Someone maybe should look into that one. But many of these proposals hit a wall. Some were never adapted, facing fierce oppositions, and others ended up in the court battles. Right now, 9 of Gensler's rules are tangled in litigations, with 3 already vacated. Gary Gensler tried to introduce essentially a few rules and regulations. Not a single one of them passed through, except the SAB 121 Act, which essentially made banks hold cryptocurrencies as liabilities on their bank balance sheets, which no bank liked the idea of that. And they tried to veto it in Congress, but OnlyFans Kamala Harris vetoed it in favor of Gary Gensler. But anyways, they're both out of the picture now. One such rule affected proxy advisors as well, firms that influence shareholder votes. Another tackled corporate share buybacks, aiming to essentially set new disclosure standards. And the third would have increased disclosures and requirements for hedge funds, venture capitalists, and private equity firms. This man was stifling everything. The only thing that a lot of people know about Gary Gensler is he's against crypto. He was against everything. He was against venture capitalists. He was against venture capitalists. He was against hedge funds. He was against private equity firms. He was against the Wall Street. He was against the stock market. He was against the crypto markets. That's what I'm saying. Honestly, maybe he was being paid off by the Chinese government, because it makes no sense for you to be the SEC chairman and bring so much destruction in your own country, to bring it to its knees. For what? He's definitely not a patriot of the United States of America. And these cases have raised questions about the reach of the SEC's authority. And for other crypto, and for crypto and Wall Street alike, the rulings could have been lasting implementations. There's also talks of Hester Peirce, a Republican SEC commissioner known as Crypto Mom, taking over as the chair of the SEC. She's been one of the few voices within the SEC pushing for a balanced approach to crypto. With Peirce at the helm, the crypto industry will almost essentially and definitely get the regulatory clarity it's been starving for. I can tell you for a fact that the crypto space has been starving for regulations. The banks have been starving for regulations. The institutions have been starving for regulations. Wall Street wants to go inside crypto space, but they can't. And they've been starving for regulations as well. But yeah, honestly, it genuinely also, it just seems like Gary Gensler's stifleness wasn't just towards, he just wanted to bring complete destruction inside the US space. For what? Nobody knows. Because you can say, well, he was against crypto because of Senator Elizabeth Warren and the FDIC chairman and so on. But why was he so against stock markets? Why was he against venture capitalists? Why was he against banks? Why was he against private hedge funds? Why was he against private family firms? This man was against everything. He just wanted the American market space to crash. That was Gary Gensler's aim. And this is what I'm saying. He might have been paid off by the Chinese government to bring America's market space to his knees so China can climb that ladder. Someone should look at, the bank transfers of Gary Gensler and the Cayman Islands. Honestly, I feel like Gary Gensler is getting some under the table money from somewhere. Because how can you be so negative towards your own country? You might be against the crypto space, but why the rest of the companies and the banks in the market space, in the stock market? That was just odd. But thank God, honestly, Trump won. I can't say this more than enough. Thank God Trump won, and that we never get to see Gary Gensler ever again. We don't get to see the FDIC chairman ever again because he was stifling banks from joining the crypto space. He sent 20 emails to each bank to stay away from crypto companies. And also, it's good that we're never going to be seeing OnlyFans Kamala Harris. So happy about that one as well. We're never going to be seeing OnlyFans Kamala Harris either. Apparently, she's going to reopen her OnlyFans account. It's the only way Kamala Harris can pay back the $20 million. Kamala Harris raised 3 times the money in her campaign, and she's in $20 million debt. The only way Kamala Harris is going to get $20 million back is if she opens up her OnlyFans account. Maybe some people could fund her that way because she has no use cases in the real world. She has the IQ level of a gold. Honestly, she has the IQ level of a goldfish. So her getting a job makes no sense. Greetings, Miles and CMF. Ray, good to see you, brother. How you doing? And if you're wondering, a goldfish has a memory of 3 seconds, which explains Kamala Harris's memory. Hi, Miles and CMF. George, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Evening, Miles and CMF peeps. Semper, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Miles time travel, let's go. No, he has a crystal ball. Let's go, funky brother. Hi, Miles and CMF. Peg, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles and CMF. Carol, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? The sooner we get to January 20th, the better it is. I agree 100%. Absolutely, Shelly. Facts. What's up, Miles and CMF? Billo, good to see you. How you doing? Miles, do you think Gary will resign, and when do you think this will happen? Well, in the past, if we look at some historical data, in the past, technically, SEC chairmen resign about 3 to 4 days before the new president takes their seat. So knowing Gary Gensler, he's going to be last minute. Gary Gensler is going to be resigning from the SEC about 5 minutes before Trump takes his seat. It's Gary Gensler. The man waited until the last second to appeal the Ripple case. So knowing Gary Gensler, he's going to wait 5 minutes probably before essentially Donald Trump taking his seat on the January 20th. If he wants to leave with some dignity, if he has any left, he can quit now. Gary Gensler can resign now. If you want to leave with some sort of dignity, he doesn't have any left. But if he does, he can leave now. But if he doesn't, and he's the same old bitter weasel he is, he's probably going to leave 5 minutes before Donald Trump takes his seat. Just to say, I resign, nobody fired me, by leaving 5 minutes beforehand. Miles, what do you think? A bit worried about this revaluation. What could it look like? The revaluation they're talking about when it comes to crypto assets, it's not being, essentially greenlighted in sort of a way, but revaluation on the cryptocurrency prices might be needed as well. Revaluation isn't a bad thing in any sort of a way. It could be a positive thing as well. Miles, almost every day after Trump won, I have conversations with my customers about him. Today, I argue the lady said Trump is not good for the U.S. either, for the U.S. either for women. Lol. Yeah, some people, it's like talking to a brick wall. All Trump has done, since day one, Trump has got in. Honestly, since day one, Trump has, being announced as the next president of the United States, countries have stopped wars, pretty much. North Korea is not screaming and shouting he's going to nuke everybody anymore. Russia, Putin is going to be ending the war. Ukraine has no choice but to end the war because they're getting no more money. The Middle East is slowing down slightly as well. China is no longer going to be going into a war with Taiwan. They give up on that whole venture idea. Saudi Arabia has essentially kicked out all of the people that are supporting the Iranians and the Palestinian sides, the other people, the H group, the illicit activity group. They've kicked them out. There's so much happening around the world where everybody's now, trying to beg friend Donald Trump and trying to stop all wars and bring the world back to its normalness. South Korea, here's the funny one. So with all the wars randomly stopping now because of Donald Trump and everything else, so he's bringing so much goodness to the world. And with the wars and storms, everything stopping, here's a funny one. South Korea. South Korea's essentially leader has decided to take up golf. The last time South Korea, and I'll tell you what the relevance is. The last time South Korea's leader played golf was 8 years ago. South Korea's leader has decided to take up golf after 8 years so he can have something common to talk about when it comes to Donald Trump. He's making country leaders take up golf courses just so they can be on the same panel as Donald Trump. Not only has this man not even taken his seat yet, and he stopped wars instantly. China doesn't want to go after essentially Taiwan anymore. They've given up on that idea. Russia and Ukraine stopping. Middle East stopping. A lot of countries are fixing themselves up. North Korea, Kim Jong-un is sitting back in his place. He's no longer, jumping up and down. He wants to nuke the entire world. And then you have South Korea's essentially leader, the country leader, going, I'm taking up golf lessons because he wants to get closer to Donald Trump. The last time that man played golf was 8 years ago, the South Korean leader. But he's taking up golf just so he can have a conversation with Donald Trump. This is how much leaders right now are beg-friending Donald Trump, where they're taking up golf lessons. This man hasn't even taken his seat yet, and he's already rebalancing the world, where everyone's behaving themselves. Do you see that? You see what one person can do to this world? One person can make everybody behave themselves. This is what you need for the United States of America. The United States of America is supposed to be the country in control. A lot of people say that essentially no country should be in control, and the whole BRICS idea is dying out as well. BRICS decided not to do BRICS anymore because of Donald Trump. And the Sergio, the Russian essentially minister, came out and said that BRICS is going to consider its options. They're no longer going to be going against the US dollar. You see what this one man can do to the whole world? All the misbehaviorness that was going around the world stops. And people say Donald Trump is bad for the world. And people say Donald Trump is bad for women. Donald Trump is bad for kids. Donald Trump is bad for adults. How? You're going to get cheaper groceries, cheaper fuel. You're going to be able to afford a house. There's going to be no scenarios of World War III. How is this bad? I really don't know how some people's brains function. I genuinely don't know how some people's brains function. It's like brain cells skipped a generation for some people. Honestly, I said the way science is advancing so much, science is advancing a lot right now, especially in technology. I said I'm waiting for the day, genuinely waiting, because I'm waiting for the day that scientists get to a level where you can donate brain cells to people. I have a lot of people on my list that I want to donate brain cells to. So I'm waiting for the day that scientists are able to make, you can donate brain cells to people. There's a lot of people on my list that need to get some new brain cells. Because they're already using, in Switzerland, if you didn't know, in Switzerland, you can rent out brain cells. Not even joking about this one. It's genuine. There's a company in Switzerland, you can rent out brain cells for data storage. I'm just waiting for this company in Switzerland to advance a little bit more where you can donate the brain cells to people. A bit worried about, yep. What will happen January 20th? Him getting fired, Trump taking his seat. Why will he resign and not get fired? Okay, but the 5 minutes before, yep. I called it. This guy will not wait to get fired. He will wait till the last minute and resign. He's not gonna do it right now. He's gonna wait till the last minute, just like you said, like a dickhead. Low, sorry for my French. Yeah, honestly, Gary Gensler is gonna wait for the last minute, 5 minutes before. I'm telling you right now. If he doesn't resign, if Gary Gensler doesn't resign from now until January 20th, if he doesn't resign, this man, Gary Gensler, the weasel, he's gonna wait 5 minutes before Donald Trump takes his seat to resign on January 20th. He's gonna wait 5 minutes before Donald Trump taking the seat. That's when Gary Gensler will probably resign. He started collecting empty boxes. Doesn't he get money if they fire Gary, like a fine? Not in his states, no. Not in his case. I change a bit my thoughts about people, but believe me, they don't desire the good. They always opposite. All facts, all love. Let's go, Ray. All facts and all love, definitely. If Gary resigns, what do you think happens to the price? 1, 2, alternate? Yes. We're going to be seeing movements, a lot of movements happening. They just don't think for themselves. They just believe the media BS mouse. Facts. Sign up the demo. Lol. If people would take 10 minutes and go and do a bit of research on Donald Trump, they would realize what he's all about. Facts. One man is about to change the world. This messed up, corrupt, manipulative world, genuinely, we live in a very messed up, corrupt, and manipulative world that nobody thought can be fixed. Even I got to a stage where I said, this world can't be fixed. This messed up, manipulative, corrupt world that we're living in, one man is making everybody behave themselves. Donald Trump is making everybody behave themselves. It's almost like the corruptness and the manipulativeness is just slowly going out the window. Honestly, this crazy world that we live in with so much corruption, so much manipulation, so much greed, this crazy world that we live in, one man comes along, everybody behaves themselves. And there are people outside, there are people in this world who are going, Donald Trump is bad for the world. Of course he is. That's sarcasm. That's sarcasm, by the way, if you're wondering. That's British sarcasm. Honestly, I don't know how people think that Donald Trump is bad for the world. He's the best thing that's happened in this world. If people would take to, yeah. Do you think directly €2 after Gary resigns, 1 something is more likable? Just because of the excitement, so 1 something. But 2, 3, 4, 5, it needs to have the regulatory, the case needs to be dismissed in other words. Now, NASDAQ is what we're going to talk about next. So on the topic of Gary Gensler and the SEC, stifling as much as he can, it seems like the SEC wants to do something good before they probably hit the deck, or before, Gary Gensler hits the deck. NASDAQ to list the first ever Japanese crypto exchange after the SEC gave a green light. Gary Gensler gave a green light to a crypto company. Can you believe that one? Honestly, I never thought I'll see the day. I genuinely never thought I'll see the day where Gary Gensler would greenlight a crypto company. In a groundbreaking move, Coincheck, a Japanese cryptocurrency exchange owned by Monex Group, has secured an SEC approval to list on the NASDAQ, which makes it the first Japanese crypto exchange to do so. Coincheck is anticipated to make its debut as early as December 10th. Through a merger with Thunderbridge Capital Partners, IV, a special purpose acquisition company, Coincheck will list on the NASDAQ on the ticker symbol CNCK, and trading is expected to begin on December 11th. The NASDAQ listing application was approved by the SEC. After receiving an approval from the SEC, TBCP can go forward with the listings by holding a shareholder vote to approve and conclude a business combination on December 5th. Coincheck has filed several forms of the SEC as a part of this listing process. Now that the SEC has approved their Form F4 registration, THCP will send the final voting materials to its shareholders, who will then essentially vote on the merger. The SEC's approval and subsequent listings will be a significant step towards increased market integrations between the SEC and the Japanese essentially cryptocurrency sector. Coincheck's acquisition of approval from the SEC to list on the NASDAQs, despite how the SEC's regulatory system for crypto assets is transforming. With this listing, NASDAQ set the precedent for Japanese crypto firms and others who essentially wish to expand inside the United States market space. The listing may motivate similar actions by other exchanges that might want to essentially looking to leverage the US capital market space. With Trump's administration expected to take a pro-crypto stance, this listing could attract more overseas crypto firms joining to the US market space. Gary Gensler doing something great for the crypto space? Did you see that one coming? I'll guarantee you, if Donald Trump lost the presidential elections and Kamala Harris won the presidential elections, thank God that didn't happen, but if Kamala Harris essentially won the presidential race, this Japanese company would have never seen a green light from the SEC in their entire lifetime. Trump has done a lot, and he hasn't even taken his seat yet. Now, on the topic of the weasel, SEC Gary Gensler, let's talk about the other weasel. There's a few of them. Number one weasel is Gary Gensler. Number two weasel is Senator Elizabeth Warren. And number three weasel is the FDIC chairman. Now, Gary's obviously resigning or essentially getting fired. The FDIC chairman is also a weasel. He's getting fired and replaced. It's only left is Senator Elizabeth Warren. She's the only one person left. And this weasel, Senator Elizabeth Warren, named ranking Dem on banking committee. Now, why do you think Senator Elizabeth Warren is aiming essentially for the banking committee? Well, because she's trying to aim for a position to stifle cryptocurrencies inside the United States under Trump. Senator Elizabeth Warren is entering the banking committee to stifle Trump and to maybe try to keep Gary Gensler kicking in essentially. Well, here's the thing. Blockchain naysayer Elizabeth Warren has effectively replaced outgoing Senator Sherrod Brown as the ranking Democratic on the Senate Banking Committee, a key panel for crypto regulations. Senator Elizabeth Warren hates cryptocurrencies. Why is she aiming for a banking committee sector for cryptocurrency regulations? Because she's spiteful. If you thought Gary Gensler was the only one that's spiteful, she's just reached a whole nother bar. So Brown's 17 years in Congress ended this November as crypto respective Bernie Moreno clinched Ohio's senatorial seat, joining essentially scores of U.S. political candidates and supported by blockchain industries and donations. Senator Brown often criticized cryptocurrencies for supposedly aiding sanctions and invasions and funding illicit activities. The digital asset skeptic urged strict laws and oversights from policymakers and federal agencies. The person that Senator Elizabeth Warren is replacing has the same views and opinions and essentially as everything else as Gary Gensler, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and the FDIC chairman. Warren's statements on essentially came out, confirmed she assumed Brown's chair at the top Democratic voice on the Senate's Banking Committee. The committee has authority over regulations involving entities like the Securities and Exchange Commission. This banking committee Senator Elizabeth Warren just joined has a voice over the SEC. And as chair plays a crucial role in any potential crypto legislations. Crypto commentators on social media debated whether Warren's rise at the top-ranking Democrat on the banking committee was preferable. Both senators have expressed anti-crypto theoretics in Congress, but Brown's words carried more weight at the panel's chair. Coinbase CLO decided to give a word on this matter. Paul, the Coinbase CLO, he suggested that a trade-off was necessary on X. As the senator for Massachusetts, Warren has introduced bills and motions to enforce traditional anti-money laundering laws on cryptocurrencies and virtual cryptocurrency operators. And also, some of Warren's proposals require miners, network essentially validators, and wallet makers to follow Know Your Customer rules, which would essentially expose an entire industry that prioritizes user privacy. Senator Elizabeth Warren's rules and regulations are to essentially stifle your privacy as much as it possibly can. Polygon's chief legal and officer, Rebecca, said the outcomes of the US elections seemed promising after a long stretch of adversary for the industry. The last 4 years have posed significant challenges for crypto, especially in terms of policies and regulations within the United States. Now, as we transition into a new era, we can expect more defined regulatory frameworks and greater willingness from some to collaborate with the crypto sectors. This shift opens up promising opportunities for the industry, especially as Congress takes a proactive, essentially, approach towards crypto. Rebecca, Polygon's chief legal and policy officer, said she mentioned that crypto users might see regulations arrive as early as 2025. Stablecoins could be the frontrunner in this regards, and Congress might also address the dollar-pegged tokens as a tool to bolster US dominance in global financial markets, she added. Comments from Polygon's lead counsel were also reminiscent of statements from Bitwise's CIO Matt Hugin. Matt Hugin said stablecoin regulations might trump the impact of spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, an asset class that with over $90 billion in less than a year after launching. So, Senator Elizabeth Warren entering the banking committee to have a voice on crypto regulations. Honestly, Trump should be using a loophole to, one, investigate Senator Elizabeth Warren, two, fire Ross. Because they're getting rid of Gary Gensler. Great. They're getting rid of the FDIC chairman. Great. Just her. She's the only one left and still trying to stifle things. But I mean, it's not going to work. It's Trump we're talking about here. And Trump doesn't take any BS. So if she falls out of line, I think her job is going to be on the line also. Now, BlackRock is what we're going to talk about next. BlackRock's build with cross-chain integration to spread investment opportunities is what we're going to talk about next. But before we go through that, let's go to the comment section. As I said previously, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put it outside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see. Do you think... No, I already answered that one. To be honest, I see Gary resigning before January. It's possible Gary resigning before January. It's amazing to watch it actually happen. I wonder, is he getting on the back end? So JP says, I wonder if he's getting on the back end of it after he resigns. That's why I give it a green light low. Trump is already, Shelley says Trump is already having an impact, Miles. This disinformation bill in Australia will now be null and void. Free speech back to the people. Thank goodness for Trump on many levels. I agree. Facts. The UK needs Trump's help as well, to be fairly honest. Miles, your opinion on Doge pump and Doge in general? Dogecoin, you know, Elon Musk is behind Dogecoin. So, look, if you really want to go towards meme coins, you know, if you genuinely really want to go towards meme coins, then allocating a small portion of your portfolio, sure, why not? Not more than 2% if you really want to go for meme coins. RLUSD can come any day from now. Will there be a pumping the price and why? RLUSD is coming from days now. Will it be pumping the price of XRP? Indirectly, yes, but not directly, no. So the price of XRP shouldn't. Here's the thing. When RLUSD, Ripple stablecoin, launches, it's not going to be pumping the price of XRP directly, but indirectly, it will bring eyes on the XRP ledger, it will bring eyes on XRP. So indirectly, it should see a pump on XRP's token. So RLUSD, it's not going to be bringing essentially a pump on XRP's token directly, but indirectly, it's highly possible. Now, BlackRock. BlackRock expands build with cross-chain integration to spread investment opportunities. Again, because Gary Gensler is getting fired, BlackRock is expanding. BlackRock is no longer just going to be using Ethereum. BlackRock has decided to expand on their fund, their tokenization fund project, which started on Ethereum. They're expanding to these particular tokens now for their tokenization. BlackRock announced that it was launching its tokenized build fund on EP203 crypto project, AVAX, ARB, Polygon, and OP. So BlackRock started essentially their tokenization fund on Ethereum, but now they're advancing into, essentially expanding it to AVAX, ARB, EP203, Polygon, OP. The tokenized fund will expand its access to multiple blockchains through new share classes, and said essentially a BlackRock press release. AVAX is an incredible blockchain, honestly. Very underrated, AVAX is. According to BlackRock's build expansion, represented essentially an evolutionary step for real-world asset tokenizations. The asset manager said build could now be used within top-tier ecosystems, blockchains-based financial products and infrastructures. Essentially, each ecosystem allowed its users and applications to interact natively with build, and explained BlackRock. BlackRock stated that it was expanding its US Treasury fund past Ethereum to support essentially for 5 other blockchains The second largest asset manager by market cap said it will launch build share classes on the 5 ecosystems to provide near real-time 24/7 365 native interactions. According to the new data reports that's been released, BlackRock dominated $13 billion global real-world assets on-chain markets and about $2.3 billion in tokenized treasuries. Build also currently accounted for $526.19 million of this market, and beyond that, also ONDO at $652 million. According to BlackRock statements, Build became the world's top tokenized fund in less than 40 days. BlackRock claimed that tokenized funds are now enabled and utility for cross-chain investors by offering opportunity in terms of investors access, DAOs, for example, decentralized autonomous organizations, and other digital asset native firms as well. Build achieved this by allowing developers to build on the BlackRock essentially fund in their ecosystem of choice at BlackRock. Real-world asset tokenization is scaling, and we're excited to have these blockchains added to increase the potential of the Build ecosystem, said Carlos, the Securities CEO and co-founder. Also, Securities wanted to take advantage of tokenization benefits by developing a digital ecosystem. He added that the new chains would attract more investors seeking to leverage Build's underlying technology for increased efficiencies. Ondo Finance also expressed their support for BlackRock and Securities with their multi-chain expansions. According to Ondo, Build backed essentially their OUSG, which is the largest holder of BlackRock's tokenized fund. Ondo Finance said that they intended to diversify their Build reserves across supported blockchains to facilitate liquidity across more ecosystems. The new data reports revealed that Ondo Finance products were most held tokenized US Treasuries. Over 7,000 wallets held their products, and Ondo's tokenized US Treasuries and assets accounted for 86% of the market share by number of holders, confirmed the data. Ondo had 7,118 token holders, followed by Wisdom Tree and Franklin Templeton's 675 and 487 token holders. The data showed that BlackRock was a distant ninth place, essentially, with only 27 token holders. And Ondo Finance claimed that believed that in global financial conclusions and access for qualifying clients. However, Ondo Finance cautioned that their products were not registered under the U.S. Securities Exchange Act of 1993 and therefore unavailable to U.S. investors. The OUSG could not be offered, sold, or otherwise transferred to U.S. investors unless some sort of exemptions or exclusions existed in that matter. The issuers of OUSG Ondo, essentially LP, were also not registered under the U.S. Investments Company Act of 1940s as amended, and thus could not sell or solicitate for OUSG investors inside the United States. But BlackRock expanding their tokenization fund beyond Ethereum is interesting, because they've just announced that they've extended it beyond Ethereum. They've expanded to AVAX. AVAX is one of the essentially blockchains that's going to be now used by BlackRock in terms of their tokenization fund. This is something that's came out of BlackRock and Securities. So AVAX is going to be a part of essentially BlackRock's tokenization fund. OP is going to be essentially part of that tokenization fund. OP is the same blockchain used for Base Network for Coinbase. ARB essentially, and EP203. Again, none of these things would have happened. BlackRock would have never made this announcement with Gary Gensler breathing down their neck. Even though BlackRock is a lot more powerful than the SEC assumes to be, but this would never happened, honestly. Because Gary's getting fired, we're seeing a lot of change happen inside the market space. But yeah, AVAX is an incredibly underrated asset. Incredibly underrated asset, AVAX is. If you haven't looked into AVAX, look into it. If you have looked into it before, look into it again. Because AVAX is being used by JP Morgan on a subnet green. It's being used by Citibank on a subnet green. And now it's being used by BlackRock and Securities for their tokenization fund. AVAX is an incredibly underrated project. Miles, your opinion? Okay, I've read that one already. And what's AVAX's purpose inside the market? Is a utility token? Yes, AVAX is a utility token. And there's subnet green is what there's carbon zero emission type of scenario is what's really pushing AVAX to the edge. A lot of companies want to go in terms of this whole carbon free maneuver, and AVAX is one of the blockchains that offers a subnet green, which is attracting a lot of investors. This whole Save the Planet scheme is what's going on. But AVAX is, doing well in that category. So good for them. Now, what we're going to be going through next is the CPI report that's came out today. So we had a CPI report come out today on the market space. How is the job labor market doing inside the United States? How is that going to be affecting everybody going forward? In terms of inflation, where we stand now inside the United States, could it have been any better if Trump was in power with inflation? By the way, this CPI report that I'm about to read to you is incredibly biased. The CPI report I'm about to read to you is incredibly biased. They've stretched the numbers quite a bit. And stretched the truth quite a bit as well on the CPI data. And if you're wondering, they can't lie on CPI data, or they can't lie when it comes to the numbers, yes, they can. The only reason we had a 2008 crash is because they kept on lying to the public about the numbers. They stretched the numbers in 2008, and we had a crash. So when it comes to reports, they can stretch the numbers and stretch the truth a little bit, which then causes a market crash every time they do that. So, how inflation will likely play out under Trump's second term. The CPI report data came out. The Bureau of Labor Statistics released their latest consumer price index report for October, and it got released today. Following the trend of this last 3 months that have happened, the inflation rate increased by 0.2%. On a monthly basis. Annually, the consumer prices for all these items increased by 2.6% versus 2.4%. In September, which is in the line with expectations, the core CPI, excluding more volatile food and energy, increased by 3.3% on a yearly basis, while monthly core CPI increased by 0.3%, both showing the same rates as the prior months. Lacking big surprises, the steady inflation data paved the road for another likely interest rate cut in December. The only reason Jerome Powell is going to be doing rate cuts is because of Trump. Otherwise, Jerome Powell would have never done rate cuts. And rate cuts are good. It's an indication that the economy is not doing too well. And why is that good? Because alternative assets will people head towards crypto. Every time we have a rate cut, the market reacts in a positive way because it shows that traditional assets are not doing well. Traditional market space is not doing well. Every time you have rate cuts, it shows that the economy is not doing too well, which means people will hedge against that scenario by going to alternative assets like gold or silver or crypto. So rate cuts are good. After the 50 basis points rate cuts in September, 25 basis point rate cuts in November, the Fed funds rates lowered by 0.7%, the current range of 4.50% and 4.75% for December. The probability for another 25 basis rate cuts is at 82.5%. Per the Fed Watch tool data. The question is, should investors and American taxpayers expect to see major shifts under the Trump administration? Should Americans see any sort of major changes under the Trump administration when it comes to inflation and the CPI data and so on? Yes, 100%. But here is where they start stretching things out. In an alternative reality, if Trump had been the president for the last 4 years. So this is what's interesting. CPI data comes out and they start doing the alternative reality. What happens if Trump was running the show for the last 4 years? This is the best part. So in alternative reality, if Trump had been president for the last 4 years instead of Biden, would things be different? So this is where they stretch the truth. It is likely that inflation rate trajectories would have played out the same. Just the first statement. They're saying if Trump was running the show the last 4 years, inflation would have played out the same. Inflation would have played out the same. Okay. If Trump was running the last 4 years, do you think the Russian war would have started? No. Do you think gas prices essentially would have went through the roof? Not just for the US market space, for the entire, essentially for the Western market spaces. I don't know how they sit there and just voluntarily lie, saying if Trump was running the show the last 4 years, inflation would have been the same. How? Because if he was running the show, there'll be no Russian-Ukraine war, there'll be no Middle Eastern war. Gas prices will remain the same. Grocery prices will remain the same. People could still afford the houses. People could still afford to pay their mortgages, their loans. So what scenario was it was going to be the same if Trump was still running the show? See, this is why they lie so much on these reports. It's ridiculous. At its peak, CPI reached 9.1% in June, and billions of dollars weren't going to be printed and sent to Ukraine. At its peak, CPI reached 9.1% in June 2022, essentially quashed by the Fed's rapid interest rate cuts starting from March 2022. First, it is President Trump who initiated the unprecedented lockdowns during the pandemic narratives. In turn, the Federal Reserve responded with an equally unprecedented M2 money supply boost inflation in excess of $6 trillion. They're saying that Trump essentially closing down the economy during COVID is Trump's fault. Trump didn't want to close down the economy. Actually, he was the last president or the last leader of a country to close down, essentially the United States or any country. He didn't want to close it down. He got pressured to close down during COVID because COVID was BS. COVID was completely BS. And he got pressured to shut it down, to shut down the US. And now they're saying, well, it's Trump's fault we shut down the economy. What happened to your scientists and doctors saying the world needs to be saved? Everybody wear a mask for the most deadliest virus on this planet. So none of that matters. They don't like to tell the truth. That's what the issue is. They hate the idea of telling the truth. Because the only reason this man shut down America is because you told him to. He didn't want to, but he got pressured to. For comparison, the banking bailouts during the great financial crisis of 2008 amounted to $498 billion. These were the same bailouts that birthed Bitcoin a year later. In ensuring cryptocurrency era spawned by Bitcoin, the public became familiar with the effects of the coin supply and unlocks on their respective valuations. The same dynamic played out in real economies. More money supply, lesser dollar value, inflation. Secondly, it appears that the Federal Reserve is isolated from elections and democratic such processes. When recently asked if they would step down if asked to be President-elect Donald Trump, the current Fed Chairman Jerome Powell was quite clear. In other words, if Trump or Biden had been holding the office of the president or someone else entirely, it is likely that the inflation surge would have played out exactly the same. No, it wouldn't have. There is not a scenario possibly in hell that essentially if Trump was leading the show, that we would have had the same scenario playing out. Because of Trump, the BRICS nations are going to go back to the dollar, which means the dollar is strengthened. Because of Trump, the Ukraine and Russia war is ending, so no more sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. Because of Trump, gas prices are going to come back down because he's going to start drilling. There are so many scenarios of because of Trump, the world is going to be better. Because of Trump, America is going to be better. So in what scenario, when they were releasing the CPI data, they thought, let's just voluntarily lie and say, well, if Trump was in power, same things would have happened. No, it wouldn't have. It is no secret that that Donald Trump is a fan of the stock market. During his first term, it had been commonly reported that Trump would have watched the New York Stock Exchange as the market reacted to his policies or absence of, and case in point, when he essentially posted this scenario of tweets in August 2019 about setting 10% tariffs on China's imports worth $300 billion. The market dropped by several percentage points. However, after seeing the market reactions, the plan was delayed and even the planned tariffs were eventually reduced throughout his entire first term. President Trump boosted about his effects inside the US market space, notably in October 2018 at Tennessee campaign rally. He emphasized that the stock market is at an all-time high, the economy is booming, wages are rising, and more Americans are working today than ever before. That part is true. Finally, honestly, they left something truthful inside of this report on what Trump has said. Interestingly, President Trump even assured the World Economic Forum, attendees in Davos, Switzerland, in January 2018, you have a lot of our stock inside the United States, so I have helped to make Switzerland even richer. I'm very happy about that. With tariffs back on the table as one of the key points of Trump's campaign, it is likely that this theoretic will serve as a vehicle to cut deals, while the priority stays on stocks going up. Moreover, during his first term, President Trump was a fan of cutting interest rates. Although he appointed Jerome Powell as the Fed chairman, Trump openly expressed his regrets because Jerome Powell wasn't cutting rates fast enough, notably saying that, "Where did I find this guy, Jerome? Oh, well, you can't win them all." Given that Jerome Powell is the middleman of an easing cycle, there will likely be a less friction this time around. As Fed chairman, Jerome Powell's term expires in 2026, though his opposition Federal Reserve governor extends until January 31st, 2028. However, both former chairs, Ben essentially and Janet Yellen, left the board entirely after the terms as chairs concluded. Although the mass deportation signs were essentially visible at rallies throughout the Trump campaign, they are likely to be minor in scope. Reminder that chants "lock her up" related to Hillary Clinton were presented in the previous 2016 election cycles. Yet such a sentiment completely failed to materialize. If the deportation focus is on illegals with criminal records, that would amount to around 1.2 million people. According to Goldman Sachs estimates, in June, if the scope of mass deportation is on illegals as a whole, that could result in 11 million deportations at a minimum. This will likely be done by cutting off federal funding support, including sanctioning employers who benefit from illegal labor. Could this negatively essentially affect the economy? If we go by example, in Europe, the impact of non-Western immigration has largely been negative. For Denmark, the economists framed that this is a dance turn against immigration when data showed net negative contributions to the budget. Likewise, the UK's Office for Budget Responsibility also arrived at a similar data, showing that the average low-wage migrant workers is likely never to be a net contributor to their lifetime. By the same token, it is expected that the low-wage illegals inside the US are essentially to be a net drain for the economy. However, if a focus is on cheap labor monetized by taxpayers, the Trump admin could regain to boost the bottom line for companies, and therefore the stocks as well. This would also be the question of Trump's fulfilling the demands of his donors and patrons rather than voters. The current trajectory clearly points to foreign-born workers gaining employments while the native-born workers lose employment. A major upset of cheap labor trend is likely to tumble. The stock market is in the short term but strengthen is long term. And after all, the labor force participation rate for native-born men is around 66.1% and even lower native-born women at 57.6%. But given the short-term scope of single presidential terms, it may be the case that Trump admins will extend the existing cheap labor trends. So, according to the new data reports that have came out, apparently there was no difference between Trump running the show and Biden running the show. Let's just all pretend that one's true. And also, Goldman Sachs was the only one with a brain cell in this scenario. Goldman Sachs actually came in favor of Trump, and they revealed their own essential data reports. Goldman Sachs said essentially that if we start doing mass deportations, it's actually going to help the US economy a lot, and that Trump is on the right path with this whole mass deportation scenario, because it is. Look, I have nothing against essentially immigrants coming into any country. Why not? Everybody wants a better life, but come from the front. Come through the front door. Don't come from the back door. That's what the issue starts getting a bit weird. So if you come through the front door, why not? But when you come through the back door, it just messes up the whole system. Now, moving away from that ridiculous CPI data report, which had slight positive impact on the crypto space, you could say. What we're going to talk about next is the Bank of France. The Bank of France and the AMF have called for an emergent meeting. The Bank of France today called for an emergent meeting. But before we go through that news, let's go inside the comment section first. Before we go through the urgent action call from the Bank of France, and the urgent meeting that they did was about cryptocurrencies. But before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. As I said, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, go for it inside the comment section. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Let's see where we're at. Hello, Miles and CMF. God bless. William, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Makes sense. Moving to faster platforms and cheaper. Yep. Regarding the BlackRock scenario, Biden is still giving Ukraine money until January 20th. Hi, Miles and family. Alex, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? UK worrying about now. Trump won. What is going to happen? Ukraine and Russia war. Are we in a big risk? No. Ukraine and Russia war is going to stop. Putin wants to stop the war. Ukraine doesn't want to stop the war because Ukraine wants to get money and Ukraine doesn't want to end up losing their land. Trump has made it very simple for Ukraine. It's either you stop the war because Putin wants to stop the war. So it's either Ukraine stops the war or they can continue this war by themselves because the United States of America is no longer going to be giving a single dollar to Ukraine when Trump takes his seat. So it's either Ukraine continues this war on their own budget or they end it because Putin is ready to end it. Hello, Miles and CMF, Ghost Runner. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been, Ghost Runner? Why are altcoins prices so pathetically low compared to BTC's price, which was never the case in earlier bull runs? The reason why the case is very different this time around, because as I said, we're in a different ball game, a completely different ball game. So reason why altcoins price is so pathetically low compared to Bitcoin price, which has never in the case of earlier bull runs, because Bitcoin has ETFs, first of all. Bitcoin has regulation. Bitcoin has ETFs. Now, the moment we start moving into regulations with a new SEC chairman is when we're going to be seeing the altcoins getting ETFs approved, because there are a couple of ETFs. There are 3 XRP ETFs, a HBOR ETF, and 2 Solana ETFs that have been applied to the SEC, but the SEC hasn't looked into it. So the reason why Bitcoin is moving faster than the rest is because it's regulated, 1. 2, because it has an ETF as well, which gives it easy access to Wall Street, for example, or the institutions around the world, or the market spaces around the world. And the reason why, it's not like previous bull runs is because we're not in previous bull runs. What we're experiencing now has never happened before inside the crypto space. So we're experiencing essentially we're going to be experiencing rules and regulations from one of the biggest market spaces in the world. We've never experienced rules and regulations from the United States. So that's new to the market space. And we've never experienced having altcoin ETFs inside the United States. That's going to be new for the market space as well. We're going to be having a lot more banks, a lot more institutions. So we're going to have more banks, more institutions, more regulations, more ETFs. Not what's happening inside the United States, but the rest of the country is following in suit. What you're going to be experiencing is something that's never happened inside the crypto space. So you can't compare it to previous data. So the reason is of why you're not seeing the same movements happening is because of that. We've never had this many banks. We've never had this many institutions. We've never had this many regulations. We've never had the United States going pro-crypto, bringing more regulations, more banks, more institutions, more altcoin ETFs. So you're going into a new experience inside the crypto space that you've never experienced before. If you were previous inside the crypto space, or if you're new inside the crypto space, you're about to enter into a whole nother ball game. So you can't be comparing previous data to this up to a certain extent, because what you're experiencing now has never happened. So how can you compare it to something that's never happened? Now that Trump has won, will this be the last good time of crypto markets, or do you think after Trump's time it will be taken over by the big power players? No, I think it's going to continue forward. I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to continue forward. Definitely. But only time will tell. Now, Bank of France, emergency meeting about cryptocurrencies. Is it going to be good or is it going to be bad? As Bitcoin approaches the symbolic barrier of $100,000, investors' enthusiasms for cryptocurrencies reaches a peak. However, traditional financial institutions are trying to curb this euphoria. In a recent form, Francis Villeroy and Marine Anne, presidents of the Banque de France, the Central Bank of France, and the AMF, called for enhanced supervision of cryptocurrencies at the European level, entrusted to the ESMA to better protect investors. In a context where crypto transactions are exploding, the AMF wants to centralize regulations at the European level. Moreover, it is aware that crypto divides investors. Each member state maintains control of the supervisions of cryptocurrencies, but for the AMF, this approach proves insufficient in light of the risk associated with altcoins and other crypto assets. The French authorities therefore advocates for a direct supervision by the ESMA to ensure consistent applications of regulations across the continent. The president of Banque de France essentially said that he believes that the ESMA should become the supervisor of supervisors. According to him, a centralized regulation is the best way forward for the French market space when it comes to crypto. He said it would better protect investors if the market space is centralized. It would fight against money laundering. It would reduce hidden transactions. It would monitor global players and would ensure better legal security. For the AMF, leaving this supervision to local authorities, it exposes investors to desperate regulations. The crypto asset markets are cross-border and by nature international, he reminds them. The SMA, based in Paris, could thus become a European equivalent of the US SEC, but several EU countries are still reluctant. So, as Gary Gensler is being thrown out the window from the SEC, Europe has decided to create their own SEC version. Although the idea of centralization supervision is gaining ground, some European states remain essentially attached to their own regulations and prefer to maintain control. The European Union doesn't want each country to come to their own conclusion. The European Union wants to create one establishment that it speaks for everybody when it comes to regulations. So there's no more back and forward. The AMF, however, believes that the lack of common supervision presents significant risk for investors, some of whom could be caught in dubious transactions. This risk is even more pronounced with the speed of essentially crypto products via the internet, where local regulators struggle to control the exposure of their citizens. For the moment, the European Union has introduced the MiCA regulations, the markets in crypto assets, to establish a general framework for crypto assets and to boost the growth of stablecoins. But the AMF and the Banque de France emphasizes that this legislation alone is not enough. And according to them, experience shows that simply implementing European regulations does not guarantee strict and homogeneous application. In other words, without a single body to oversee applications, this text could become an empty shell. By adapting a posture of investor protector, the AMF is trying to strengthen the regulatory frameworks around cryptocurrencies. It has been offering digital asset service providers advice to major problems in the European space. It remains to be seen whether this desire for centralization will find a favorable echo among EU states. So, the MiCA regulations is mostly focused on stablecoins and getting very strict on essentially crypto exchanges for money laundering scenarios, AML, and KYC, know your customers. But the EU is now suggesting that we need to go towards altcoins as well. And we can't go towards altcoins unless we have a unified body where it dictates for everybody inside the European Union. And the MiCA regulations is not enough. We need to have a unified body that looks at altcoins and goes, this is green light for everybody. This is red light for everybody. This is green light for everybody. So for example, they could say, XRP is green light for everybody. And then for example, Camel token is red light for everybody. That type of scenario. Instead of each country coming to their own conclusion. Instead of France going, we believe in XRP, so that's green light, but we're against Camel token. Or, we believe essentially, or Italy comes along and goes, we believe in Bitcoin, but we're against Solana. Or Germany comes along and goes, we're with Ethereum, but we're against AVAX. They don't want none of those scenarios when it comes to altcoins. They just want a unified body that just says green light, red light, green light, red light, which makes a lot of sense. And but they're going to be doing it, and they're saying it's immense amount of centralization. But look, the process will move a lot more faster. Okay, instead of each country coming back and going, we approve this, we don't approve this, just one unified body saying green light, red light, it's pretty much good to go. Then everybody can move a lot more faster. Now, this was an urgent meeting that they did. It's probably because, look, everything urgent that's happening around the world is because of Trump. Banque de France doing an urgent meeting about the European economy for cryptocurrencies is because of Trump. It's because America is about to become the capital cryptocurrency of the world, and no country wants to get left behind. You know where America was ranking before? So Chain Analysis and a few other rating agencies did reports on the market space. Singapore was the #1 ranking country when it came to cryptocurrencies in terms of regulations and, adoption rate. Singapore was ranking #1. Hong Kong and Dubai were ranking 2 and 3, and a few other countries followed in suit. America was essentially ranking 11th on that list. In terms of adoption rate, America was ranking 11th of becoming a crypto capital. Now, because of Trump, America is going to go from 11th place to first place when it comes to crypto capital. And the EU doing an urgent meeting talking about altcoins is because of that. Because they want to get things moving now also. They don't want Germany having different opinions to France, and France having different opinions to Italy, and Italy having different opinions to so on and so on. They want a unified body that comes out and goes, XRP, green light. This, red light. Bitcoin, green light. This, red light. AVAX, green light. This crypto project, red light. They just want a unified body to get things moving faster for altcoins now. Remember when I said 8 companies, just 8 companies followed the footsteps of MicroStrategy? The United Kingdom followed the footsteps of Slovenia for tokenizations. Yeah. Everybody is going to be following the United States. If MicroStrategy can make 8 companies go pro-crypto, Slovenia can make the UK go pro-crypto for tokenizations. Imagine what the US can do. Again, Trump hasn't even taken his seat yet. January 20th is when he hasn't even taken his seat yet. And they're already doing urgent meetings for altcoins in the Central Bank of France. Yeah. And people say this market is going to be topping out in March. Sure it is. Turbulence, sure. Topping out, hell no. Let's go through the next comments. Let's go to the comment section before we go through the next news. And by the way, the next news we're going to talk about is the Fed member. A Fed member who was essentially against cryptocurrencies and policies and everything else to do with it is now pro-crypto. Why? Trump. Let's use that comment section first before we go through that news. Like the aviation industry, as you said before. Facts. Let's go, Shelly, for remembering as well. A while ago, I revealed what France is doing right now is basically, the aviation thing. So what I said a while ago was in the G20 summit in New Delhi, where the G20 countries attended, and they talked about many aspects. One of the main core subjects in the G20 summit was cryptocurrencies. And they said at the G20 summit, it's difficult for every country to have its own sets of regulations because it will get very confusing, and that we need to have a unified body type of scenario. So in the G20 summit in New Delhi with G20 countries, they announced that they should be seeing crypto assets, they should be regulating crypto assets as how they've regulated the skies. So they said how every plane inside the sky has the same rules in every jurisdiction. Cryptocurrencies should have the same majority rules in every jurisdiction. So there's no confusion. And that's what they discussed in the G20 summit, where they all signed a declaration that the same way they treat the planes in the sky, of the all having the same rules, no matter what, what airspace is in, the plane has the same rules. If it has, if it's the airspace of UK or the EU or whatever country or whatever continent, it has the same rules in the sky. And cryptocurrency should have the same rules. So yeah, that's basically what's going on in the EU. They want a unified body saying green light, red light. We can move a lot more faster than everybody coming to their own conclusions on each altcoin. There are over 24,000 altcoins. There's no time for processing each file. It's better to have one unified body saying green light, red light, green light, red light. But again, that's the positive because of Trump. Things are going to move a lot more faster than the EU market space. But yep, good catch, Shelly. Good catch. Thanks for the knowledge, Miles, but I've got to sleep now. But you've got me interested in AVAX. Let's go, Ronnie. Ronnie, see you tomorrow, brother. Same time as usual. I'm glad I got your interest in AVAX. Definitely read into it. Now, Fed members, what we talk about. Fed member that was against cryptocurrencies turned pro cryptocurrencies because of Trump. Now, he plays a very interesting role as well. So, Minneapolis Federal Reserve President Neil, who has long been critic of essentially Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and has suggested a change in perspective. Because of Trump, this man is now changing his perspective. He's saying maybe crypto isn't bad. He's a Fed member, plays a big role. Surprisingly, Neil recently spoke in the New York City, saying he was willing to reconsider his stance on digital assets. Neil, who has previously essentially branded cryptocurrencies as worthless, fraud, and nonsense, hinted that his perspective could change. He said, "I'm going to keep an open mind." He said, despite this newfound openness, Neil remained skeptical, questioning the practical use of crypto, saying, what does it actually do in the real economy other than being a speculative asset? It's been a dozen years, Neil said. His comments speak to the broader hesitancy inside the US financial administration to integrate crypto essentially into the traditional financial systems, which is largely overseen by the Federal Reserve. Neil's comments aimed significant political shifts that could impact the regulatory landscape of cryptocurrencies, with Donald Trump's recent election victory and expectations are growing that he will take measures to bolster the crypto industry and remove perceived obstacles, including the SEC chairman Gary Gensler, which crypto advocates often see as an immediate essentially to the industry's growth. Some of Trump's allies include crypto enthusiast Elon Musk, who is also in favor of reducing the Fed's power. Trump previously tried to fire current Fed Chairman Jerome Powell in 2018, a move that shocked the markets. So, Trump essentially, this Fed member, there are Fed members, right? He's not the only one, by the way, to point out. There are Fed members right now who are against cryptocurrencies, never for cryptocurrencies. They say it's worthless, as in his own words, he says worthless, nonsense, junk, fraud. Now he's open to cryptocurrencies as a Fed member. One man, Donald Trump, changed the entire show. He changed the entire show. Now, moving away from Neil, and Neil has a big role to play. He's the man that can also, help bring the regulations for crypto assets. And now all of a sudden, he has an open mind. I bet you any money, I'll bet you a lung, I'll bet you one of my lungs, that Neil would have never had an open mind under essentially the Biden administration, under essentially Kamala Harris. But now Trump is about to become president. All of a sudden, Neil has an open mind. Now, what we're going to talk about next, moving away from the Fed members all of a sudden turning pro-crypto, positive, extremely positive, to Polymarket's CEO. Polymarket's CEO home got raided by FBI. Now, if you wonder what is Polymarket and so on, and why is the CEO getting raided, Polymarket was helping us understand how the election was supposed to go. During election times, if you turned on CBS or ABC or The View or MSN essentially, the news will tell you it's a very tight race. And just lie, blatantly lie. The news will tell you on ABC, The View, CBS, all these news channels, the news will tell you it's a very tight race between Kamala Harris and Trump. And in reality, it never was. Polymarket is a crypto betting website that people actually used for data purposes on who is most likely to win the elections. And Polymarket data was very different to the news's data. The news was saying it's a tight race. Anybody can win this. Polymarket was saying 60% chance Trump's winning. 60% chance Trump's winning. Now, time passes and everybody makes a lot of money from Polymarket betting on the presidential elections and so on. Out of bitterness, the FBI raids Polymarket's house, the CEO of Polymarket's house, because he was actually giving out correct data during the presidential campaigns, because Trump did win by a landslide, which is exact data that was coming from Polymarket. Polymarket's data said he's definitely winning by a landslide. The news is a very tight race. So, him getting arrested, is it just bitterness? Federal law enforcement officials raided the home of Polymarket CEO Shane today. The prediction market was a breakout success inside the US presidential elections, a platform where billions of dollars worth of bets were placed on an outcome. Polymarket traders viewed Donald Trump as the likely winner, as indeed he was. The raid was confirmed by Polymarket spokesperson, the New York Post, and essentially the Axios report the news earlier. This is obvious political retribution by the outgoing administration against Polymarket for providing a market that correctly called the 2024 presidential elections. The spokesperson said in a statement, Polymarket is a fully transparent prediction market that helps everyday people better understand the events that matter the most to them, including elections, because it's accurate data. Polymarket is supposed to block US persons from accessing their services after coming to a settlement with the US Commodities Futures Trading Commission in 2022. A CFTC spokesperson told CoinDesk that Polymarket is required to adhere to terms of their settlements they reached with the CFTC, full stop. This means that they cannot accept any business from people living inside the United States or US persons, as we write in order. It's pretty clear it's incompetent and the company to comply with the law. Despite this ban, Americans can trade on the platform through virtual private networks or VPNs, which can be used to essentially the prohibition. And CoinDesk confirmed that at least 2 Americans were able to place trades ahead of the 2024 elections from locations inside the United States. So, Polymarket CEO gets arrested. Why? Because he was giving out correct data during presidential campaign race. I mean, how much more bitter can you get? And do you know what the best part is? The funniest part. That party, the Democratic Party, talks about a unified party. The Democratic Party says the most heinous names towards Trump supporters. The Democratic Party, I'm not even going to name the things that they said, but everybody knows what they are. The Democratic Party, on the news, they said the most heinous names you could possibly call someone. And they said all of those names towards Trump supporters. And they called heinous names towards Trump as well. And the Democratic Party is the party that goes around and says peace to everybody. We support peace. We support unifiedness between us. Everybody should come together, is what the Democratic Party says. And in reality, they're all about segregation. They're all about putting people in categories. And day by day, since Trump has won the election, the Democratic Party is showing their true colors even more. Now, obviously, we know their true colors for a very long time. But even people who used to be Democratic are now seeing their true colors come out, which is backstabbing everybody around them. A party that talks about being unified goes after somebody that was giving correct data during the election times. A party that tells people to be unified, the Democratic Party is the same party that tells people to come together. We should all be together, world peace and freedom of choice and freedom of rights, and everybody should come together, is the same party now telling people on the news I saw today that if your family members voted for Donald Trump, don't speak to them during the holidays. That's the Democratic Party that tells people that everybody should come together. No matter if you're black, no matter if you're Latin American, no matter if you're Persian, no matter if you're Arabic, no matter what your religion is, everybody come together. That's the same party that tells everybody come together. And now is the same party telling people during the Christmas holidays and New Year's holidays, don't speak to people, even if they're your family members, if they voted for Donald Trump. They're showing you their true colors, which is spitefulness, which is bitterness. And some people still can't see through that. Some people still can't see through that. It's the same party that screams, be unified. Everybody come together, no matter what your background or religion is. And now it's the same party telling people, if your husband or your wife or your child, not even joking about this one, they said even if your child supported Donald Trump, don't talk to them. They're telling parents not to talk to their kids if they voted for Donald Trump. And this is the same party that talks about everybody unified together. This is on the news. This was on the news. They're telling parents not to talk to their own children if they voted for Donald Trump. They're saying during the holidays, New Year's, Christmas, don't spend time with your family members who voted for Donald Trump. Same party that tells everybody, no matter if you're black, no matter if you're Latin American, no matter if you're Arabic, no matter if you're Middle Eastern, no matter if you're Persian, everybody come together, is the same party that says all these things, and the exact same party that says to people during the holidays, during the Christmas, during New Year's, don't talk to family members. Don't talk to your children if they voted for Donald Trump. This party is showing their true colors day by day. And I'm hoping that more people wake up and realize that this Democratic Party is just filled with satanic people. That are just filled with people who are just bad people. Incredibly bad people. That not a bone of honesty is within them at all. They're just money-hungry, greedy people. That all they want to do is just bring destruction on this world, distant everybody from God, no matter what religion you believe in, and just create segregations and put people in different categories and camps. The Democratic Party is showing their true colors day by day as time goes by. I'm genuinely hoping more people wake up to that. Yo, Miles, Knox, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? You want to hear some of the names I got called when I'm out and about with my Trump hoodie or a Trump hat? It's ridiculous. And the best part is, if you go to the Trump side, if you go to the Republican side, everybody's kind. Everybody's respectful on the Trump side. Nobody's calling you names. But the other side, everybody's calling you names, and the party is telling people, don't talk to your children. How can you come out on live news? Genuinely, how can you come out as the party that screams freedom of rights, freedom of, speech, freedom of everybody coming together, and be the same party on live news to tell people, if you're a parent, don't talk to your children during New Year's and Christmas because they voted for Donald Trump? How do you come out and do that speech genuinely? I'm baffled. Honestly, I'm baffled that someone could come on live news and say to adults and parents, don't talk to your own children because they voted for Donald Trump during Christmas, during New Year's. How can someone come out and say that? And they're the party that says everybody come together. They're genuinely showing their true colors a lot more. I'm just hoping a lot more people wake up and realize that the Democratic Party is just filled with satanic worshiping people that just want to split everybody up. They're manipulative. They're corrupt to the core. The Democratic Party is corrupt to the roots. Pretty much. The Democratic Party is corrupt to the roots. That party is never going to be fixed. They cannot hide their true colors anymore. It's all out in the open and people can see it. It's evil. Facts. Absolutely facts. Now, what we're going to talk about next is essentially two crypto companies coming together. But these crypto companies are venture capitalists. So moving on from the unified party, apparently, to two companies merging together to bring innovation. They're both venture capitalist companies. They're both VC companies. So crypto giants Okra and Block Tower are merging together for one reason and one reason only: to bring more money into the crypto space. Okra and Block Tower, two leading firms in digital asset management, announced their plans to emerge, essentially, to merge in all equity deals. The only reason these two VC companies are coming together is because they want to have more funding to go towards the blockchain space. Why do they want to have more funding going towards the blockchain space? Because we're about to go to rules and regulations, which means everybody's going to go head first inside the crypto space, all the institutions. Per a joint press release, the merger will create a combined entity that delivers regulated institutional-grade crypto investments and products to a growing market space. The two firms have signed a letter of intent and a plan to consolidate their operations under one brand. Block Tower Ventures Capital Unit will remain independent. The merger addresses the increasing demands for digital assets within regulated investment environments. Ryan, the CEO essentially at Okra, noted via press release that uniting the firms will enable them to provide products that adhere to regulatory standards, a priority for investors seeking more secure ways to access digital assets, and digital asset management involves overseeing investments in cryptocurrencies and blockchain-related assets, offering opportunities for both individuals and institutional investors to explore this emerging sector. Companies like Akara and Block Tower offer specialized funds in this area, managed by people with solid Wall Street backgrounds. By teaming up with the pooling their resources, these firms aim to create stronger products and navigate the ever-evolving world of crypto with confidence. Competing inside this maturing digital asset space and serving our investors requires a constant fight for the top talents. By merging Akara, we're excited to create a stronger investment team immediately, said the co-founder and chief investment officer at Block Tower. Once the merger is finalized, the unified firm will focus on delivering investment options that blend the growth potential of digital assets with the security of institutional-grade standards. So, VC companies are positioning themselves right now. VC companies are positioning themselves to enter inside the crypto space, which is great to see. They're positioning their fundings and themselves. Now, what we're going to talk about next is Cantor Fitzgerald, CEO Howard. Reason why is because this man is aiming for Treasury Secretary post. President-elect Donald Trump is selecting cabinet members for his upcoming administration 2025. And the role of Treasury Secretary is now reportedly contested between Scott and Cantor Fitzgerald CEO Howard. According to Fox Business, reporter Eleanor Terrett, all but certain to secure this position as recently as Tuesday, November 13th. The pro-crypto asset manager was the most likely pick for United States Treasury Secretary alongside hedge fund manager John Paul. However, John Paulson, bowed out of the cabinet selection due to what he describes as complex financial obligations. And Howard has allegedly rushed in to clench the Treasury Secretary role, sources close to the process say. There's one thing about Howard a lot of people might not know. Howard is the same man that's behind Tether. Despite the position now being up in the air, both Howard and Basenet essentially are pro-crypto candidates, which they both are, who believe the industry is here to stay and want the United States to foster developments inside the digital asset sector. Cantor Fitzgerald, the firm Howard heads, has been a custodian of Tether's treasury portfolio since 2021 and became the custodian for Tether's bond portfolio in 2023. Howard has been an outspoken proponent of cryptocurrencies, praising Tether and Bitcoin. In December 2023, Howard also cited that Bitcoin's lack of centralized authority and censorship resistance essentially properties as unique and unlike any other digital asset. The CEO was appointed to co-lead Trump's transition team in August 2024, alongside World Wrestling Entertainment WWE co-founder administration of Small Business Administration's Linda. Following Howard's appointee, Alexandra, the Vice President of Government Affairs, a crypto investment firm, essentially Paragon, remarked that the inconclusion of Howard is a huge, essentially, potential for crypto. He personally briefed the House Republican Conference last year on stablecoins and is a big crypto bull. Most recently, in September 2024, Howard argued that Bitcoin should be treated as a commodity, just like precious metals or energy. The CEO also chastised as U.S. regulators and lawmakers for being essentially ignorant about crypto, stating that they have no idea about digital assets or coherent digital asset policies. So Howard wants to take the seat as the Treasury Secretary. Pro-crypto Howard is. Howard is also the same man that's selling bonds, U.S. bonds, to Tether and storing some of their U.S. bonds to Tether as well. Might not be the best play. because Tether is not the best play either. USDT shouldn't last too long. If Tether gets, if Howard gets the position as US Treasury, then Tether will become strengthened, unless Howard backstabs Tether. That's a possibility as well. But the good thing is, if it's going to be Howard or it's going to be the other two candidates, all three of them are pro-crypto. So which way ever it goes, Trump chooses, whoever chooses, all three of them are pro-crypto. So that we're fully sure of. But one of them is behind Tether. That's where the question slowly starts to rise. But either way, all three of them are pro-crypto. Which way ever it goes, it should play out. And I think at one point, and I think personally at one point, if it comes down to it, Howard will definitely backstab Tether if it comes down to it, just to keep his job. Now, but either way, pro-crypto, it's bullish. 3 Treasury Secretary members that are aiming for it, for that role, and they're all pro-crypto. What we're going to talk about next, moving on of that, is Van Eck. Van Eck is launching a ETN. And the crypto project Van Eck has decided to launch an ETN with SUI. But they're not going to be launching it in the US, they're launching it in the EU market space. Van Eck, a prominent crypto asset manager, has officially expanded its offerings to include Van Eck SUI ETN on the Euronext Amsterdam and essentially Euronext Paris exchange. The initiative will provide investors with the new opportunity to tap into the growth of SUI blockchain ecosystem. This exchange-traded note ETN is designed to allow users to gain exposure to the SUI's blockchain native token SUI. The Van Eck SUI ETN is designed to offer investors an accessible way to participate in SUI's growth. Without directly holding the SUI token, the ETN tracks the market vector SUI, VWAP, close index, essentially, which is linked to the value of SUI's token. This provides investors a straightforward way to access and invest essentially in the promising SUI blockchain. Mina Mertens, the crypto product manager at Van Eck Europe, highlighted SUI's scalability and cost effectiveness. He noted that this low transaction fee makes it a strong competitor to older blockchains. He also emphasized the network's growth potential, which is set to meet the increasing demands for efficient blockchain-based transactions. However, as SUI is a newer blockchain investor, must be aware of the uncertainties surrounding future regulations and technological advancements. Security is also a key concern in digital assets, and Van Eck has ensured that Van Eck SUI's ETN is fully collateralized. The underlying digital assets are held securely in cold storage by Bank Frick, a regulated custodian based in Liechtenstein. The high security standard essentially protects the investors from the volatility risk of digital assets. Listed on regulated exchanges like Euronext Amsterdam and Euronext Paris, the ETN provides investors with a secure platform. It features a total expense ratio, TER, of 1.5%, making it a cost-effective entry into SUI's blockchain. Though through the cost effectiveness, the digital investment product essentially carries considerable risk due to its inherent volatility on digital assets. SUI is decentralized smart contracts platform designed to revolutionize transaction speeds, unlike older blockchains like Bitcoin or Ethereum, which processes transactions essentially a lot more slower. SUI uses parallel processing. This feature allows multiple transactions to be processed simultaneously, significantly reducing delays and increasing efficiencies. SUI's ability to handle real-time transactions make it particularly suitable for industries like decentralized finance and gaming. Speed and low transaction costs are crucial for success in these sectors. Beyond speed, SUI's user-friendly design protocol bridges Web 2 and Web 3, promoting its mainstream adoptions by developers and end users alike. The network is developed by Mistral Labs and essentially a company backed by Microsoft, Apple, and Meta. So if you are somebody that's holding SUI, that is good news for you. Look, the European market space brings some money to the table. It doesn't bring the most money to the table, but it brings some money to the table, to be fairly honest. So it's just going to bring more eyes on SUI in general. And obviously, once the SEC chairman, Gary Gensler, is replaced finally, we're going to be getting essentially SUI ETFs inside the United States market space, most likely. But there's a lot of ETFs online right now. There is 3 XRP ETFs inside the United States that they've been applied for. 1 HBAR ETF, 2 Solana ETFs that are right now waiting as well in the waiting list. And Sui could be the next one as well on the waiting list. Who knows? They just got their ETN right now inside the EU market space. So let's see what's going to be happening for them. If you're somebody that's holding Sui, that is still good news for you, without a doubt. Sorry, let's just putting this in charge. There we go. Now, moving away from Sui, and we're going to go into the topic of Ripple, because Ripple has released their new report. So if you're wondering what I'm doing, it's because I'm trying to put this in charge. Ripple has released their new reports on the market space in America. So here it is. 5 digital asset trends in America. Actually, before we go through that, let's go start the comment section first, and then I'll give you the Ripple reports. I think there's a few questions. Let me just answer them. I don't agree with Trump on everything, but that's not necessary. But in this day and age, he is the best option, not only for America, but for the rest of the world. I agree, 100% facts. As I said previously, this is a live, which means if you do have any questions, put it down in the comment section. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Freedom of abortion, that's it. Freedom of abortion, that's it. And no, is what Lauren Beatty said. No, what's no for? 5 digital assets, trends in America. So this is a new Ripple report that's came out today on their own website. The digital asset economy is gaining momentum across the Americas, and the likes of global custodian banks and financial market infrastructures must quickly adapt. Let's dive into the top 5 digital asset trends shaping the Americas right now, and how financial institutions can not only plan for, but progress towards essentially engaging in this new token economy. Ripple has decided to release a report on how the US is going to be North America and South America moving forward when it comes to blockchain technology. And the banks and institutions getting involved, because things are changing. Trump's in power now. North America leads the way on cryptocurrency adoptions. So that's number 1. As traditional financial assets, such as equities and bonds, struggle to deliver returns, cryptocurrencies are gaining traction across North America. Low digital bond returns and volatile equities are the emptiness for more purchasers to diversify into new alternative asset classes. And cryptocurrencies are major beneficiaries thanks to their compelling remaining return streams. According to Chainalysis data reports, North America's accounted for 24.4% or $1.2 trillion of global cryptocurrency transaction activities between June 2022 and June 2023, making it the biggest crypto market in the world. In addition, institutions making transfers of $1 million essentially compromises of 76.9% of all transaction volumes in North America. North America has basically no rules and regulations, but they're still moving the most amount of money. And there are countries that are ranking in regulations. Singapore's ranking number 1 in regulations and so on, in terms of adoption, but they're nowhere near these price points. And neither is Dubai, neither is Hong Kong, neither is Japan, neither is the rest of the market spaces. Number 2, and why I'm saying this is because they don't have rules and regulations. They're already bringing the most amount of money. Imagine if America had rules and regulations, which is very soon going to be having. Number 2, crypto flows are the rise in North America. Accounted for 7.3% of the global cryptocurrency market. Data from Chainalysis shows that Latin America is the 7th largest crypto economy out of all the regions, putting it ahead of essentially sub-Saharan Africa and only marginally behind the Middle East and essentially North African, Eastern Asian, and Eastern European countries. Similar to North America, institutions make up the bulk of crypto transactions in Latin America, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Venezuela, and make up the top 4 markets in Latin America, which features in Global Crypto Index Top 20, which is interesting to see. Do you know why? Because a lot of people will tell you the majority of the market is being moved by retail. The majority of the market is being moved by retail. Well, according to Ripple's report, it isn't at all. With added inflationary pressures and lack of access to essentially local cryptocurrencies, across certain Latin American markets, both retail and institutional players are seeing cryptocurrencies as safe haven, alternative store of value. A recent network from TNF conference in New York, speakers highlighted that Colombia, Chile, and Peru are in the process of consolidating their stock exchanges into a single holding company to facilitate a greater regional and international investment into the domestic equity markets. However, liquidity or lack of therefore in parts of Latin America is still the ongoing issue. As a result, this nudged more Latin American players towards cryptocurrencies. Number 3, regulators inside the Americas are playing catch up. The US is essentially playing catch up when it comes to the rest of the world, but they're going to be ranking number 1. Users across essentially the Americas may be big players of cryptocurrencies, but crypto asset regulations and regulations of virtual asset service providers, such as crypto custodians, appears to be lagging behind other major essentially markets, most notably the EU. Even though America is ranking behind everybody. As I said, America is ranking 11th in terms of crypto regulations adoptions. They're ranking 11th. Even though they're ranking 11th, they're still bringing the most amount of money to the table. America's market space is still bringing the most amount of money to the table. And most of it's come from institutions. And we don't even have rules and regulations. This is with Gary Gensler. Stifling crypto adoption, stifling the banks from joining the crypto adoption, stifling the institutions from applying for ETFs. This is with Gary Gensler holding back the American market space, and they're still bringing the most money to the table. So imagine Gary Gensler gone, rules and regulations, more ETFs, more banks, more institutions. Imagine the market space then. The prices you're seeing right now inside the market space are teaser prices. It's nothing compared to what's going to be headed towards you. The prices you're seeing now are nothing. Good, but nothing compared to what the price is going to be. On the other hand, the US Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, recently gave the go-ahead for the spot Bitcoin Ethereum exchange traded funds to list and trade. And on Ripple's, this is from Ripple's own website released today. On Ripple's own website, it also says, and multiple XRP ETFs were also announced recently with plans to launch XRP ETFs. Also, deemed a non-security inside the US and other jurisdictions, one of only 2 digital assets to have the level of regulatory clarity inside the States. And for the millionth time, just to point it out as well, for the millionth time, Ripple is stating for the millionth time that XRP is not a security. XRP is not a security. But people inside the crypto space, crypto influencers will tweet out and say XRP is a security, while the billion-dollar company itself is claiming that it's not a security. By the way, you do know that if Ripple lies, they can be sued. I think a lot of people don't realize how the real world operates. If a company is coming out with misinformation about their product, so if Ripple's coming out about misinformation, and for example, let's just assume XRP is a security, as the crypto influencers say. There are I'm not going to name who they are, but crypto influencers that are out there that say XRP is a security. When Ripple says for the millionth time XRP is not a security, you do realize if Ripple is lying, they can be sued for that. They can be sued. You don't think Gary Gensler will sue Ripple for that? You don't think Gary Gensler will sue Ripple for misinformation? So when Ripple is stating for the millionth time XRP is not a security and nobody's suing them for it, what does that tell you? It's the truth. Some people don't really understand how the world operates when it comes to law. Some crypto influencers just like to give out their opinions as if they're giving out gold opinions, when it's rubbish opinions. Stupid opinions sometimes as well. But for the millionth time, Ripple is stating XRP is not a security. It's on their own website as well. If they're lying, you can be sued because you're lying about a product that you have a hand in, and that can be counted as misinformation. And Gary Gensler is that big. So If anybody's still telling you Ripple's XRP is a security, just pretend like as if they know best, even though they're absolute morons. Also to note that the digital asset XRP being deemed not a security in the US inside the States. On the other hand, as one industry expert speaking during the TNF pointed out, the US crypto custody rule are yet to be finalized by the regulator. And lingering, essentially, the uncertainty remains. It was noted that this lingering uncertainty is largely prompted by the SEC Staff Action Bulletin, SAB 121. SAB 121, a piece of essentially guidance that's not legally binding, but companies usually treat as a rule, issued in 2022, advises that financial institutions holding cryptocurrency on behalf of their customers, for example, centralized exchanges and global custodians, should report these assets as being liabilities on their balance sheets. No bank wanted to do this. No institution wanted to do this. But Gary Gensler was enforcing it. The provision has led to a backlash across both crypto and traditional financial industries. However, with banks essentially warning that reporting cryptocurrencies as balance sheets and liabilities could result in them facing increased risk weighted capital requirements and elsewhere, limiting their ability to lend custodian banks developing digital asset custody products, and have repeatedly essentially stressed that SAB 121 will make the businesses uneconomical in the US. Without some sort of clarification on SAB 121, the ability for banks to offer digital asset custodies and services in the US will be constrained, making it harder for institutional adapters to trade and hold assets such as cryptocurrencies. This year, the US Congress has introduced a measure to reverse the SAB 121, which also expects that the new administration will evaluate the guidance and could reverse it in 2025. In 2025, that law will definitely be reversed, and banks will be able to hold essentially crypto assets. Banks having difficulty holding crypto assets is not a good thing because of Gary Gensler, but him getting fired and the SAB 121 Act being reversed, that means that banks can start holding crypto assets and not hold it as essentially liabilities on their balance sheets for their customers and clients. Even so, the SAB 121 has not prevented global custodians from developing digital asset custody solutions elsewhere. High-profile examples, including Societe Generale, forged the first and only bank in France to obtain a full digital asset service provider license, and HSBC, one of the world's largest global custodians, which announced plans to develop an institutional essential custody solution for tokenized securities. Other providers have also invested into digital asset custodians, including Zodiac Custody, a digital asset custodian whose backers include Standard Chartered Bank, Northern Trust, Japan's SBI Holdings, and National Australian Bank. It's only a matter of time that the US and Americas more broadly catch up to their European counterparts. In Latin America, regulators are also eagerly in stages of developing rules around crypto custodies. Of all the markets in the region, Brazil has made the most headways with the country's central bank, coherently constantly with the industry on standards for virtual asset service providers, including those essentially custodying or administrating crypto assets. Previous consultations on VSPs and of central banks of Brazil have tackled issues like risk management, asset segregation, and disclosures. Number 4, network managers get ready for digital asset sub-custodies. Network managers at global custodians and broker leaders and broker dealers will have to update their due diligence as more institutions start trading digital assets, including cryptocurrencies. What Ripple is stating is what's exactly going to be happening. Exactly what they're stating is what's going to be happening. The moment SEC chairman is out, rules and regulations, more banks, more institutions, is what they're telling everyone right now on their own website. Speaking at the TNF, a network manager said that while more institutions trade cryptocurrencies, they are typically smaller purchasers, i.e. family offices, hedge funds, and high net worth individuals, as opposed to large insurance companies or pension schemes who have custodial relationships. But that's going to change. However, network managers expect these big institutions will eventually incorporate digital assets into their portfolios as they look to supplement their traditional return streams to meet various liabilities or mounting. Essentially, once it happens, due diligence will need to be tweaked with a greater emphasis being put on cybersecurity data protections. and asset safeties in the context of hot and cold storage for safekeepings of digital assets. Number 5, turning to technology providers for support. Technology providers play an instrumental role in essentially catalyzing the institutional adoption and integration of crypto and digital assets. And that role is becoming increasingly important as institutions round the digital asset curve and being to bridge the traditional financial space to crypto. Although some banks may choose to build their own digital asset technology stacks internally, others leverage the expertise of external providers for bank-grade digital asset custodies and infrastructure solutions. It's the critical foundation necessary for any financial institution, crypto natives or otherwise, to securely access and engage with digital assets, creating a new revenue stream and future-proofing their businesses. Ripple was just giving you a breakdown, a 5-step type of scenario of what we're going to be essentially going towards. And they talked about the companies that are also already involved in that matter. Ironically, all the names that Ripple mentioned, all the company names they mentioned on their own website, are their own official partners as well. And mentioning essentially what's going to be happening next with rules and regulations coming and changing, more banks getting involved. The SAB1 Act gets thrown out the window as well, gets tossed out. Banks can start holding crypto assets, but their clients can start getting involved in cryptocurrencies. They're talking about how pension funds will start going towards alternative crypto assets, well, not just Bitcoin ETFs. So it's the change they're talking about. A massive change is about to come for the United States, and their report is 100% accurate. But I like how they mentioned, for the millionth time, XRP is not a security. And if they're lying, they can be sued. They're not lying. It's the truth. Hence why they're not being sued for those comments on their own website. And another statement that people lie about Ripple as well is that Ripple lost the case. That's another statement that crypto influencers like to lie about. As I said previously before, winners don't appeal cases. Losers appeal cases. If you go to court and you win, do you go and appeal a case? Basic common sense. No. If you go to court and you lose a case, do you appeal a case? Yes. It's that simple. 2 big lies that's been spread inside the crypto space. 1, XRP is not a security. That's a big fat lie. Yes, it is. Sorry. 2 lies that's been spread inside the crypto space right now, which is 1, XRP is a security. It isn't in any sort of shape or form. And XRP essentially being Ripple lost the case. That's a big lie as well. Ripple never lost the case. Winners don't appeal cases, losers do. Always remember that. Now, all good things, I think everyone can see where this is going. All good things must come to an end. And they just have right now. So, this is the endings of tonight's live. You've gone dark 3 times, Miles, for 1 or 2 seconds. I don't know what's happening. How to sell $900 on BitGet. I only got phrase like brisket FX, arch, land, brother, credit supply, poverty, borrow, dear, treat. Trina, I don't know what you're saying. You need to elaborate on that one. I'll be honest with you. Shared live. Let's go, Scott. Miles, with all the invitations in the space and recent news, are there projects that they would be now consider adding to your portfolio that you don't currently hold? Is any crypto assets that are currently add to my crypto portfolio that I currently don't hold? No, I hold the majority of crypto assets. I mean, look, the crypto projects that everybody should be into right now. Okay, if you're not holding these, look into them. Don't buy anything you don't understand. So, crypto assets you want to be, reading into: 1, XRP; 2, XLM; 3, XDC; 4, HBAR; 5, ACH; 6, TON; 7, AVAX; Chainlink; Near; Solano, Cardano, and so on. But the main ones are the top 5. All good things must come to an end. Facts. Great show tonight, Miles. Take care. All racy tomorrow, but same time as usual. That's what I would say. Is XRP going to be the biggest asset in the market cap in anything? Yes. Eventually, yes. Over time. 100% guaranteed. In my point of view, 100% guaranteed over time. So, as I said, all good things must come to an end, which they have right now. This is the endings of tonight's live. Good night, Miles and family. Excellent live. Many thanks. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, sometimes as usual, brother, as well. Ray, see you tomorrow, brother, sometimes as usual. This was the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, this was the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, it stands for Crypto Miles family. I'm your host, as I am every single night. My name is Miles. I go by the persona of Crypto Miles. And the CMF stands for Crypto Miles family. You can tune into this live every single night where I talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrency, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, vital information for you to know about regarding the world completely transforming into a digital space. Thank you so much to everybody that's right now watching on X. Thank you so much to everybody that's retweeted this live, who's followed me on X if you weren't already, who's liked this live as well on X. Thanks so much to everyone on YouTube who's watching right now as well, who's liked this live. This is episode 203 of the CMF Live. We're on episode 203 right now, which is incredible. So thanks so much to everyone that's been tuning in from the beginning until now. Episode 203. So you can tune in tomorrow for episode 204. And we also have an X communities page as well. Join if you already haven't joined the X communities page for this live. It's completely free. This live is free. The X community page is free. The CMF X community page is on my X profile. And also the Telegram group we have is also free as well. Everybody's absolutely amazing. The CMF members are always at the comment section. So join the pages and join the CMF. It's completely free for life. And you can call me, message me, and so on whenever you want. Just let me know 5 minutes beforehand. You can call me, message me whenever you want, and I don't charge a single penny either. So I'm always up for helping people no matter what. So if you want any sort of personal perspectives, I'm always here for people. Now, thanks, Miles, and good night, family. Lena, see you tomorrow sometime as usual. Ian, see you tomorrow, brother, sometime as usual. Ray, see you tomorrow, brother, sometime as usual. I want to share that I helped my sister get into XRP today. Troy, let's go. Good night, Miles and CMF Peg. See you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Good night. Missed my comment. Orphan, what did you say? What was your comment? Not just ETFs. Few companies waiting for Gary to leave to go IPO. Facts. Yes, a few companies are waiting for Gary to leave to go IPO. Facts. Absolutely. Now I didn't miss your comment now. Have a great night. Stormy, you too. Have a great night. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. Thanks, Legend. As always, night and day to all CMF. Shelly, thanks so much for the kind words. See you tomorrow sometime as usual. Good night, Miles and family. Troy, see you tomorrow sometimes usual as well. Good night and all. Thank you. JP, see you tomorrow sometimes usual as well, brother. Good night, everyone. Thanks, Miles. See you tomorrow. Orphan, see you tomorrow sometimes usual. Good night, Miles and CMF. Great live. Thanks, Miles. Orphan, see you tomorrow sometimes usual. Freedom Forever, see you tomorrow sometimes usual. Outstanding job, Miles. From the hospital bed, Scott. I hope you're doing better, brother. Great job, Miles. Keep it up. Good work, Scott. Let's go. See you tomorrow, brother, sometimes as usual. Nice one, Miles. Zach, let's go. See you tomorrow, sometimes as usual. Miles, any news on CMF merchandise? Not yet, but soon. Soon. Not many people like Miles around anymore. Not many people like Miles around anymore. Zach, thank you so much for the kind words, brother. Thanks, Miles. Stormy, let's go. Good night, Miles. Scott, good night. See you tomorrow, sometimes as usual. Scott, good night. See you tomorrow, sometimes as usual. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Same timing as usual. And once again, honestly, thank you so much to everybody that's watching on YouTube, who subscribed and liked this video. If you're watching us on X, thank you so much for everybody that retweeted this video, who liked this video, put a comment under the video, and followed me on X as well. Crypto Mouse shorts, let's go, Scott. Definitely. I will see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night. I will DM you. I have a couple of things to discuss. No problem, Shelly. DM me. Looking forward to it. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. See everybody tomorrow, same time as usual.